Keeping the bees in check. Oh, na na na. Hey, stand up, Barbadians. Let me take back we respect. Time to rise up, time to step. We keeping the bees in check. Check, 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 check. Keeping the bees in check. No more thing on the people neck. We standing strong, we won't defect. Barbados, rise up, show respect. Check, check. Keeping the bees in check. From St. Lucie straight down to St. Philip West. We guard in the high, we ready, we respect. Friends of democracy, keeping bees in check. Buzz, 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 but we hearing the truth. People waking up from the long time snooze. No more ball and talk. Time to inspect the whole life shaking when we keeping bees in check. Keeping the bees in check. No more sting on the people neck. We standing strong, we won't defect. Barbados, rise up, show respect. Eh. Keeping the bees in check. From St. Lucie straight down to St. Philip West. We guarding the high, we ready, we said. Friends of democracy, keeping bees in check. No more flying around the world while the island stress. No more leaving poor people in a hot mess. We want real honey, not fancy speeches to impress. We want justice sweet, no, not bitter progress. So let we march, let we chant, let we reconnect. From the youth to the elders, we all interject. This country deserve love, not constant neglect. And we right here steady, keeping bees in check. Keep me bees in check, keeping the bees in check. No more sting on the people neck. We rising up, we won't defect. Barbados strong show, intellect, keeping the bees in check. Every parish, every district, yes, a new kind of buzz, a new project. Friends of democracy, keeping bees in check. Hey, hold the line, Barbados. If the bees can't do the job, we go regulate the hive. Keeping the bees in check. Keeping the bees in check. Check, 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 check. Keeping the bees in check. Keeping the bees in check. Oh, na, na, na. Hey, stand up, Barbadians. Let me take back we respect. Time to rise up, time to step. We keeping the bees in check. Check, 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 check. Keeping the bees in check. No more sting on the people neck. We standing strong, we won't defect. Barbados, rise up, show respect. Check, check. Keeping the bees in check. From St. Lucie straight down to St. Philip West. We guard in the high, we ready, we respect. Friends of democracy, keeping bees in check. Buzz, 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 but we hearing the truth. People waking up from the long time snooze. No more ball and talk. Time to inspect the whole life shaking when we keeping bees in check. Keeping the bees in check. No more sting on the people neck. We standing strong, we won't defect. Barbados, rise up, show respect. Eh. Keeping the bees in check. From St. Lucie straight down to St. Philip West. We guarding the high, we ready, we said. Friends of democracy, keeping bees in check. No more flying around the world while the island stress. No more leaving poor people in a hot mess. We want real honey, not fancy speeches to impress. We want justice sweet, no, not bitter progress. So let we march, let we chant, let we reconnect. From the youth to the elders, we all interject. This country deserve love, not constant neglect. And we right here steady, keeping bees in check. Keep me bees in check, keeping the bees in check. No more sting on the people neck. We rising up, we won't defect. Barbados strong show, intellect, keeping the bees in check. Every parish, every district, yes, a new kind of buzz, a new project. Friends of democracy, keeping bees in check. Hey, hold the line, Barbados. If the bees can't do the job, we go regulate the hive.
Good night, good night, good night. I want to apologize for the late start. And before we get into the meat of the matter, I want us to start this meeting in the right way with a word of prayer. So first I want to introduce Matthew Thorne, the candidate for St. James South, to open us up in prayer.
Thank you. A wonderful good night to everyone here. If you would please join me as we open in a word of prayer. We recognize tonight that He who has created everything, He has called us friend. So tonight I call you friends. And I ask that we go to Him with reverence and respect in Jesus' name. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this evening. I thank you for the proceedings in St. Michael West Central, and I thank you for every person that you have brought here safely this evening. I thank you for those that are coming, Heavenly Father, and I pray that you cover them in your blood. Father, I thank you for the mission that you have placed before the Friends of Democracy. I thank you for the assignment that you have placed on our lives, and I thank you for putting the words in the mouths of each speaker that will speak tonight. Heavenly Father, you see the condition and the state of our country. You see the things that are right, and you see the things that are wrong. But Father, I ask that above everything, that your word will stand high and true above everything in spirit, everything in physical, and everything that has been created by you under the sun. So Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for this evening, and we thank you for your presence. Holy Spirit, we invite you here, and we ask that above all else your will be done. And we ask it in no other name but the name of love, a name of power, and a name of conviction. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Good night to St. Michael. May God bless you.
Good night. Thank you. Amen. And I want to thank Pastor Matthew Thorne, for that beautiful opening prayer. Once again, good night, FOD. Good night, Clevedale. Good night, St. Michael Central. And good night, Barbados. St. Michael West Central. Tonight we stand in full solidarity behind the next representative of St. Michael West Central, Miss Katrina Ramsey. Too long Barbados have been subject to mobby talk, and mobby like water. Now you can just ask the people up in the north, but that is a different topic. We are tired and fed up with all this sweet talk and no action. Barbados, it is time for action. I said St. Michael West Central, it is time for action. And FOD has come by the grace of God to provide action over promises and to keep the bees in check. And if so, and as a Barbados population sees fit to help us smoke them out, well then Friends of Democracy will smoke the bees out. Anyhow, I'm just the MC for tonight, and I got a little bit too excited and I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jamal Martindale, and I'm a spokesperson for the Friends of Democracy, a young, budding political party that is destined to do big things in Barbados. Now it's time to introduce our first speaker. He was born at 5th Avenue, Paterkin Land, Bank Hall, St. Michael, and raised in Marine Road, Bushall, St. Michael. Currently resides in Grisette, St. Michael. He was educated at the Eagle Hall Infants, Wesley Hall Boys, St. Leonard's Boys School, Barbados Community College, the University of the West Indies, and Hugh Woodin Law School in Trinidad. He has completed a military training in Puerto Rico, Martinique, and Canada, where he was trained in peacekeeping at the Pearson Peacekeeping College in Halifax. He spent 41 years as a reserve officer in the Barbados Defense Force. He is a former civil servant, a West Indies qualified umpire and match referee, and a former fitness instructor. He is currently the first vice president of the Friends of Democracy. He is a member of Barbados Cricket Association, Barbados Cricket Umpire Association, and the Barbados Rifle and Pistol Association. He is a justice of peace and a practicing attorney at law, the spokesperson for housing, home affairs, legal affairs, and criminal justice, and the next representative for St. Michael North, Mr. Ricardo Ricky Harrison.
We always working, ready to serve like a soldier. Serve. Friends of democracy, Ricky does work. We going with Ricky working. We always working, ready to serve like a soldier. Serve. Friends of democracy, Ricky does work.
Good night to the beautiful people in St. Michael, West Central. Good night to the friends of democracy. Good night to all Barbadians. Barbadians, before I go into my presentation this evening, I want to comment briefly on the electoralist fiasco currently dominating the headlines in Barbados. Now, I see that the goodly Prime Minister has brought in some observers. That is foolishness. The question is not about the electoral process as the elections, as it were. The question is about 8,000 people who have been left off the electoral list. I have two friends who called me recently and told me that they are both dead. One is a policeman. Yesterday, during the nomination process, some of the witnesses for some people were not even on the list, and these were people who were voting from time immemorial. And some postman told the electoral office that the person doesn't live there anymore. But they have been beaten enough and criticized enough. Let me, as a friend of democracy and a friend of Barbados, offer a few suggestions. Add back the 8,000 people that want to take off, that dead and living between now and the 10th of February. That is one. Use the list from 2025 until you get the 2026 list sanitized. Extend the period for checking your name on the electoral list by at least another 5 days. And finally, if you cannot get the 3 of those done, postpone the elections. There is no need for observers in Barbados. Makes us look like a banana republic. I know what's going on. We've never had it in all the years we've had elections in Barbados. That is nonsense. Now to my presentation. We are, as the friends of democracy, not into the habit of calling our own people dirty names. We are a party which will offer solutions to this already hapless government, which has shown clearly that it is bereft of ideas. I want to start with the issue of crime in Barbados. In Barbados, violent crimes in the form of murders, especially those involving firearms, have surged dramatically. There has also been a sharp increase in property-related crimes, vehicles, and livestock. In 2024, there were some 50 murders involving firearms. In 2025, up to November 2025, there were some 47 murders involving firearms as well. Now, crime poses a serious threat to the social and economic fabric of Barbados. We are a small island and a small island developing state where community cohesion, and we are also tourism driven in order to prosper. A significant portion of homicides has led to unsafe neighborhoods, strained public health resources, and heightened fear among citizens. Now, I'll say this to you. It is said that the Accident and Emergency Department at the QEH is challenged more by murders and cutting up and so on than any other activity. And I'll share this heightened fear. Yesterday we were in a certain community doing some stuff, some work, and the neighbors over there told us to try and leave before it gets too dark. So this is the Barbados that we have come to. Victims and their families suffer long-term trauma, while the healthcare system bears the financial burden of treating gunshot injuries and diverting critical resources from other patients. Friends, Barbadians, the erosion of public safety undermines trust in institutions and discourages civic engagement, especially in communities. In other words, people don't want to leave their homes anymore because they are afraid that they will be caught in one of the crossfires. Residents, indeed, have been calling for stronger police presence and more visibility. And at this point, I will pause and thank the Barbados Police Service for an excellent job which they are doing. Just as concerning is the repeated incarcerations of young men for gun-related offenses. And this signals a deep crisis. If you check the statistics, and those of you journalists will see that the average age of those involved in criminal activity, particularly as it relates to guns, is between the age of 17 and 25 years old. The loss of human capital and the perpetuation of a cycle of violence and indeed marginalization. Friends, with so many young men entering and exiting the penal system or dying due to the violence, their potential contributions to this economy and society are stifled, weakening the island's future workforce and indeed leadership potentials. This threatens long-term development as youth disengagement and criminal behavior reduces opportunities for innovation, entrepreneurship, and indeed sustainable growth. The Friends of Democracy recognizes that criminal gangs are among the most dangerous threats to national security, social cohesion, and public safety in Barbados. In recent years, we have seen a troubling rise in violent gang-related activity, from gun crimes and drug trafficking to intimidation and recruitment of minors and young people. To confront this crisis head-on, and it is indeed a crisis, the Friends of Democracy will introduce and modernize comprehensive anti-gang legislation aimed at disrupting, dismantling, and indeed deterring criminal organizations operating across this beautiful island. We will support the development and indeed the implementation of a policy framework mandating interagency collaboration, linking education, health, and housing needs to deliver wraparound services to the vulnerable communities. We'll also ensure enhanced community policing units placed strategically in communities where there are trouble spots, as it were. A sense of purpose and belonging can be developed and sustained through structured activities such as entrepreneurial incubators with a heavy focus, as it were, on high demand areas. Additionally, friends, commencing such initiatives early on in school so it is inculcated from the formative years. The Friends of Democracy believes in a strategic, decisive, and combined approach to combating crime. And this will look like the following: addressing the socio-economic factors that influence the actions and decisions of people leading to the perpetuation of crime. Enforcing restorative justice measures that address the actions of the offenders, but also enables victims of crime to receive personal recourse from experiencing the offending behavior. Because a lot of these human rights groups and authorities speak to the rights of the criminal, and they always neglect those who have suffered from the criminal behavior. You're also improving retributive justice through harsher jail terms and the death penalty in case of extreme violence. Now, I know that we took a bit of a flack when we raised this question some time ago, but to our good credit, we have the support of the Director of Public Prosecutions when he said that it needs to stymie this lawlessness in this country. The Friends of Democracy believes in prioritizing targeted employment and skills development programs for at-risk youth in communities with a special focus on high crime spots. So those crime hotspots, we will be prioritizing and developing programs and skills to take them off the blocks. And if they're on the blocks, they'll be on the blocks, building blocks and working. We propose also an increase in vocational training for young people. We support the widespread introduction of paid apprenticeship partnerships with private sector employers, which provides participants with experience and can reduce financial barriers. We do not support paying criminals to stop shooting each other. We support focus programs for the young people in Barbados. And we will approach this question of criminal justice in a tiered situation. Tier 1, the most serious violent crimes, that is like murders and, well, we don't have treason in Barbados, but certainly murders, capital punishment. Violent but non-aggravated crimes, repeat offenders, harsher prison terms. Non-violent property crimes involving the youth and first-time offenders, we employ the restorative justice measures. The Friends of Democracy, Barbadians, supports the introduction of the death penalty. And, capital punishment serves two primary functions: retributive justice and deterrence. Some have argued that it will not deter, but we know that if a fellow commits a heinous crime or heinous murder, and he's exhausted all of appeals, and he's finding his way to the gallows, or whatever method they use, he cannot kill again. By imposing the ultimate penalty for the most egregious crimes, such as premeditated murder or acts of terrorism, we assert that Barbados values human life and will defend it without compromise. It is about time. Victims and their families deserve justice, and the government has a duty to uphold that principle through lawful and proportionate consequences. Barbados could adopt the more humane approach to capital punishment by using measures, if they don't want to use the gallows, lethal injection, and indeed the gas chamber. We know that corporal punishment, that is the use of the birch and the tamarind rod, was in use some time ago. And we propose to reintroduce it for aggravated robbery, armed assault, and sexual violence, especially against minors. But we will not dive in footloose and fancy free. The Friends of Democracy, once they have the requisite authority, will consult with Barbados to gain its feedback on the use of corporal punishment. In cases where imprisonment alone may not suffice as a deterrent or a form of restorative justice. Indeed, the tambourine rod and the birch, traditional instruments of discipline back in the 60s and 70s in the Caribbean, serve as a culturally resonant tool for enforcing moral and civic order. But we will not use this arbitrarily. We ensure that all avenues of fairness and justice are examined carefully before this is applied. That, my friends, is our policy as it relates to criminal justice. I now turn, friends, Barbadians, to the current state of housing in Barbados. Barbados faces a growing housing crisis, particularly among low-income earners who struggle to access affordable, secure, and dignified living conditions. Now, as I said before, the Friends of Democracy is not only about criticizing for criticizing's sake. We are offering solutions. We realize that this government is bereft of ideas. Their barrel is low when it comes to useful and productive ideas. So because we are friends, we are giving them some tonight. Although the Housing Credit Fund was established to support households earning under $51,000 Barbados dollars annually, according to some central bank statistics, the demand continues to outpace the supply. Most individuals do not earn enough to meet the requirements of financial institutions to qualify for a mortgage. And anyone knows who has gone to get a mortgage know how much trauma and terror it is to get the few cents from the bank. Many families, brothers and sisters, friends, are forced into overcrowded or substandard housing conditions, exacerbating social vulnerabilities such as domestic instability, poor health outcomes, and limited educational attainment for the children. And trust me, I have seen this for firsthand. When you're canvassing, you go to a house and you see 8 or 9 families, sometimes 7 children, a mother and a partner. And you know, the sleeping arrangement are not the best. What they do, some of them, is put down a mattress in the front house at night so that everybody can get a comfortable night's rest. We want to eliminate that sort of thing. Many families are forced into overcrowded or substandard housing, as I said before, and without targeted intervention, this crisis threatens to deepen inequality and hinder national development. But we have some solutions in place. An aggressive, genuine rent-to-own policy where 100% mortgages will be granted to public officers and other qualifying private sector employees who earn between $2,500 and $5,000 per month. This initiative will be overseen by an agency mandated or created to superintend this policy, where 100% mortgages will be granted with reasonable interest rates on the mortgage. We propose also, as Friends of Democracy, we are committed to breaking the cycle of generational renting and expanding home ownership for working class and middle class Barbadians. Our aggressive, genuine rent-to-own policy will make it possible for thousands of citizens to secure a home, many for the first time in their lives. And these solutions, when integrated into a national housing strategy, can transform access for low-income Barbadians and foster inclusive growth. Under this policy, friends, Barbadians, as I said before, 100% mortgages will be granted to public officers earning between $2,500 and $5,000. That includes the police, the nurses, the civil servants at a certain level, and it will be extended also to private sector employees. We will provide mortgages at reasonable market-driven rates so that there's not burdensome that when you pay the mortgage, you can still eat food, buy a car, or go to Puerto Rico for a vacation. A dedicated housing authority or mandated agency will be established to look after this and to ensure that the money is accounted for in a proper manner. And what we propose as the Friends of Democracy is that these homes provided under this initiative will include low-cost, quality housing units built to last and designed for practical, comfortable living. I don't know how many of you have passed by Lancaster in St. James, opposite the Chauffet place, and made that left turn. And you will see some of the ugliest structures ever seen on the Barbados housing landscape. And imagine $60 million later, and that's what they produce as housing. We also intend to produce a mix of single, standalone, and terrace units located in strategically selected communities to support access to jobs, transport, schools, and other essential services. In other words, we're not going to place these houses in the middle of Baker's Woods or George River Forest, but we're going to place them in areas that services like transport, schools, and other essential services can be easily accessed. These homes, friends, Barbadians, will come with essential structural finishes only. That is, we provide you with the basic structure, and you yourself will design the tiles, the floors, the vanities, the bathrooms on your own. And this will make it a little easier for you and give you a little bit more in the pocket. This approach, friends, Barbadians, prompts dignity through ownership. It empowers families and gives young professionals and working class citizens a genuine stake in the national economy. And you know how good it feels that you have your own key. You don't go be scratching at your mother and coming at a certain time and your grandmother grumbling. You turn your own key and you feel proud of it, you and your little family. We will also attend to integrate green energy standards into these new housing developments to reduce long-term utility costs and promote environmental sustainability. We will also incentivize developers to build affordable units through tax breaks and fast-track approvals. The Friends of Democracy will offer financial support for repairs and upgrades to existing low-income homes through home improvement grants. This can improve living standards and reduce long-term maintenance costs, ensuring the families pass successfully from generation to generation, and this enhances generational stability. One of the sweet deals that we will be offering as well, Barbadians, is reverse mortgages. A reverse mortgage is a financial arrangement where homeowners aged 60 and over can access part of the equity in their homes without having to sell off or vacate the property. Instead of making monthly mortgage payments, the homeowner receives payments from the lender. And repayment is only required when the home is sold or the homeowner passes away. The Friends of Democracy recognizes that many of our senior citizens own their homes outright but struggle with the daily living expenses. Indeed, they have the medical costs or retirement needs. And to address this, we will introduce the concept of these reverse mortgages, subject to conditions and consultation with the experts and the stakeholders in this industry. This policy, my friends, is about preserving dignity in retirement, giving our seniors the freedom to access the benefits they built over time, and easing the financial burden on the younger members of their family. Another sweet deal which we will offer to Barbadians is the removal of land tax from certain properties. The Friends of Democracy is committed to creating a tax regime that works for the many, not for the chosen few. This land tax policy represents a bold step towards a more just and economically secure Barbados, where no family has to fear eviction or financial ruin simply because they dare to owe the land tax department or dare to own their own homes. We aim is to protect the vulnerable homeowners from losing their property due to this odious tax burden. We also plan to stimulate the housing market by making ownership more attractive and indeed more affordable. We want to encourage land development and reduce the vacancies or those vacant lots that are running amok in Barbados. To this end, we will do the following. Properties valued up to $400,000 will pay no land tax. Properties valued at $401,000 will pay on the first $100,000. But land tax will remain on all commercial properties in Barbados. Ladies and gentlemen, there has been talk about why vote for a third party, why vote for this or the other. This is the B and D country. I am saying to you, there is a crying need for an opposition in Barbados. For the last 8 years, we've been devoid of such. Under the astute leadership of Karina Goodrich-Bowen, I call her the KGB, we want to form the next opposition in Barbados. Led by Mrs. Bowen, we will give credible, sound, and intellectual responses to whoever forms the government. I want you, when you go to vote on the 11th of February, to vote for the Friends of Democracy. Our candidate is the beautiful and wonderful Katrina Ramsey. That's the only name you will see on the paper. Go out and vote for, wherever you live, go out and vote for the Friends of Democracy. We need a strong, credible opposition. We have not had one for 8 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you and God bless you.
We always working, ready to serve like a soldier. Serve. Friends of democracy, Ricky does work. We going with Ricky working. We always working.
Thank you, Ricardo. I first want to acknowledge Madam President in our midst and all of the executive council. Once again, thank you, Ricardo. And remember, come February 11th, we are voting Friends of Democracy. We are voting Katrina Ramsey. We are voting Ricardo Harrison. Now, Friends of Democracy have candidates of substance and class. And we all have an agenda when it comes to politics. And I ain't going to stand out here and sugarcoat nothing. We all have an agenda, whether it's the Bees, whether it's the other party down in George Street, or whether it's F4D. Now, the Red People agenda is to destroy Barbados and to make their pocket fat. The other dead Labour Party, to be honest, I ain't really sure the agenda, but how it look, the agenda look like it's to eat their own flesh. But I want to tell the people of Barbados and the people of St. Michael West Central that F4D have an agenda as well. And our agenda is to advocate for the people of Barbados. Our agenda is to be the voice for the voiceless of the people of Barbados. Our agenda is to, let me put it this way. You know, we living in a Barbados now that when we go to the supermarket and we put some goods in our basket and we get it to the cashier and we see the price of the goods, we gonna say, oh, shoot, and hold we head. And we gonna put back some because we can't afford all. But F4D's agenda is to make Barbados prosperous again. That when we get up to that cashier with those basket of goods, that we look at the cashier and say, wait, these items are cheap. Let me go and get about 10 more. That is F4D's agenda for Barbados. Now I want to introduce you to our next speaker. He is a man from St. Michael Central, born and raised. After spending several years overseas, he earned a Bachelor's of Business Administration in Marketing and built a successful 15-year career in advertising, following a brief stint on Wall Street. He later transitioned into income tax preparation and today operates a thriving tax business. Upon returning to Barbados, he resettled in the community he cherished the most, which is St. Michael Central, where he continues to live and operate his business. While living in New York, he served as PRO for Helping Hands of Barbados, Inc., a Barbados-inspired charity that provides school supplies to primary schools across the island, support children's homes, and contributed to the Salvation Army and other charitable causes. Since 2020, he has actively supported residents of St. Michael Central through food hampers, school supplies, community assistance. And his signature Christmas event, Deck the Mall, now in its 5th year, serves meals, gifts, groceries, and entertainment to over 250 people. Raymond Wiggins is a committed businessman and philanthropist who cares deeply for the people of Barbados, and in particular the people of St. Michael Central. He is a JP and also a sports person for education. And I'm going to be a little bit biased here and say, my next representative for St. Michael Central, we welcome Raymond Wiggins.
From the heart of St. Michael, a story unfolds. A man of the people, brave and bold. Raymond Wiggins, his name a big and bright. For 6 long years, he's shown his life. Born and raised right here, he knows all things.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, St. Michael West Central. As I said, I'm Raymond Wiggins, the candidate for St. Michael Central. Born and raised, and have been doing good works. I was called by my own people in St. Michael Central about 3-4 years ago to run in the election to support them because they don't see their representative, except for when he comes to my Christmas event, dons a hat and a shirt, and serve food. So here I am. As I said, I'm the sports person on education and the youth. And before I get started, I don't want to touch too much on this voters list thing. It'll be touched on a lot more by some other speakers. But in my own experience in out canvassing, I've seen so many names on the list where people say, this person has been living overseas for years. In my own personal experience, I have a stepfather who has gone to New York, who went picking fruits back in 1971. He's 97 years old, and he is still on the list. So I don't understand how certain persons are being removed from the list, say they're living overseas, like our dear friend, and I won't call her name. She was on Brass Stats today, so they know. She went to support a candidate yesterday, and they said, "You're not on the list. You now live overseas." I know she went there for about 2 weeks for a funeral, so I don't know if when the person came by, somebody said, "She ain't there anymore, she gone away." And the fee, she gone away forever, that they took her off of the list. Out canvassing yesterday, we went to a couple, and the girl said, "My parents are here." She said, "My dad has died, but mom is still here." When we looked at the list, dad who has died is still on the list. Mom who is alive has been taken off. We're not saying there's anything nefarious going on. We're just saying mistakes happen. You put things in the wrong hands, they will not end up right. So some things have been put from electoral board in certain people's hands who were not capable of handling them. So they might have botched certain things. Now bringing in observers is like waiting until the foundation of a house has already been built, and when the guys start painting and stuff, you bring in somebody to look around and say, "Well, hey, they look good, the job looks good," but they didn't see the shoddy work that was done in the foundation. So a list that we're going into an election with that is not right, and bringing people to look on the day of election and say, "Yes, this looks good, it looks above board," doesn't say anything at all. I am speaking on youth and education. Mr. Harrison spoke on friend Ricky has spoken on crime. But most of the crime in Barbados is being committed by the youth. So the two things practically goes hand in hand. And youth crime does not start with bad kids. It starts with bad gaps. When young people feel shut out, unseen, broke, bored, or unsafe, the street starts to look to them like opportunity. But if we are serious about reducing youth crime in Barbados, we have to stop treating it as only a policing issue and start treating it as a development issue. Crime is often the symptom, while the root causes live in homes, schools, communities, and opportunity gaps. There are some practical initiatives of the Friends of Democracy that can make a real difference. Too many young people disengage because school feels disconnected from real life. FOD proposes to expand technical and vocational tracks from early secondary school into like construction, coding, digital, media, agricultural, renewable energy, auto technology, all these things. And we've spoken before about retooling the Alma Paris School into what we would call a technical career institute. We propose to partner with businesses for paid student apprenticeships to let teens earn while they learn, to create second chance education centers for students who might have dropped out of school with flexible schedules and get certifications along the way. A teen who sees a career path is less likely to see the block as their only future. Idle time is one of crime's best recruiters. We propose a policy that we would call not no youth left behind, but no youth left idle. It guarantees part-time or seasonal work for the youth between 16 and 25 years old. We propose public work internships, either by community beautifications, environmental projects, elder care support, and distinguishing and digitizing government records. All of these are things that the youth are attuned to. These are things that they know about. The youngsters now can take a phone and do all types of things that we cannot do very, very quickly. We advocate for wage subsidies for small businesses to hire first-time youth workers. Give them a sense of belonging, let them earn something, give them a sense of feeling that they belong to something. They earn, they can make a living, they can contribute significantly, however so, to the families. Work builds income. It builds confidence, it builds discipline, and it builds identity, which are all protective factors against crime. We also advocate for community youth centers that actually function. There are a number of youth centers around the island. Nothing happens at them. They're just there. Some of them have been vandalized and other things. But we need to get these things working for our youth. Not just buildings, living, breathing, safe spaces for our youth. Each high-risk community should have a center which offers homework support and lessons. We have some youth on the blocks that might have 1 or 2 certificates, who are not all lost, who are good at math or English or certain things, and would be willing to help the ones who are less fortunate than them, the ones, their sisters and brothers who they don't want to fall into the same cracks as them. Because they're out there don't mean that they wanted to be there. Circumstances has made them that way. Circumstances push them into that. And some of them would like to see their younger sisters and brothers, the siblings and friends, not fall into the same cracks that they did. So we have to try and retool some of these community centers to actually mean something for our youth. They can also offer, and Adwele will speak to this because this is part of his passion, music production, art, dance, sport leagues, those sort of things, and also mental health counseling. There are a lot of children out there, a lot of youth out there who have a lot of mental health issues that were not diagnosed when they were in primary school. And you might have heard us before, you might have heard me before talk about our plans for testing, rigorously testing some of our youth while in primary school for dyslexia and other mental health issues that they may have, other issues they may have, social issues, that we get some mental health professionals in some of the schools. Also, we can teach them life skills. And one of our candidates have spoken about this. I think it might have been Stephanie, where we can teach them financial literacy. And most of all, conflict resolution. They're quick to get escalated to go from 0 to 100. We have to teach these youngsters to resolve conflicts, and not the first thing on their mind is to resolve the fight. I heard a young man the other day down in Garden Land as I was passing through, talking about he went to the barber and tell him he want a quarter off of his hand, he took off a half, and saying, don't let me go off my gun and come back and shoot this barber shop. This is ignorance among our youngsters. Nobody's teaching a conflict resolution. You can go back and tell the barber, look, boss man, cut off a little bit more. When the barber's coming, say, let me see the mirror there and look. I want a little bit more off. That is good. Nothing so. That's what it come to. That's what our young people have come to in Barbados. This is totally ridiculous. But when the positive hangout spot is stronger than the corner, you shift behavior. That has been proven. There are many at-risk youth that lack consistent adult guidance. We're not putting all on the shoulders of government. It has to happen in the home. It has to happen with parenting. But what Friends of Democracy can propose and offer is a national mentorship program linking professionals, retirees, and trained volunteers with youth. I know a lot of retirees who retired from different disciplines who still have a passion for them, but their physical strength would not allow them to still go to the hospital or to schools or different places and physically work. But they can show up at some of these sites and guide some of these young persons into some of these disciplines. Tell some of these young persons what it was, how they came up, how they actually got involved in some of these disciplines, and guide our youth. We need to have a special focus on boys without father figures and the youth from high crime zones. We need mentors who check in weekly, who attend school meetings and guide career paths, because one stable adult can change a life trajectory. We need things like the Boys and Girls Clubs. Anybody who knows Denzel Washington, he always touted the Boys and Girls Club that he entered at 15 years old as a lost and misguided youth. We need some things like the Police Athletic League, where we partner with police and the sports clubs at different schools and certain things. All of these things we need. All of these are things that we can do for our youth, but we are failing them left, right, and center. And it is not right. And then we want to blame them when they end up on the wrong side of the law. We need family support, just not youth blame. We can't just keep blaming the youth. Sometimes the problem is stress at home. And some of the initiatives that can be put forward, and some that Friends of Democracy do advocate, is for parenting workshops on communication and discipline without violence. We need family counseling for households in crisis, but we must be able to identify them. We don't spend enough money, we don't spend enough time trying to identify and find the problems. We just want to gloss it over, and when they turn to a life of crime and things, just blame them and say, the youngsters ain't wanting to work, they like the block. But we have to intervene very early and find ways to save the youth. We need emergency assistance for families facing eviction and food insecurity. And we talk a little later about the food parish centers that we plan to establish that takes care of some of the food security. We also have a sports person on agriculture that will talk about providing agricultural decisions. We've based a lot of things in Barbados. There's a lot of things that can be turned around into other things. We don't do it. But we need to. We need to take care of the youth, find ways for them to find employment and other things. Because stabilizing homes stabilizes children, and especially the youth. We also need to reform how we handle first-time offenses. Friend Ricky would have spoken about this, but I'll just add a little bit to what he has spoken about. Because not every mistake should be turned into criminal identity. What we can do, and what Friends of Democracy proposes to do and to implement, are divergent programs for first-time non-violent offenders. And Friend Ricky would have spoken about restorative justice, repairing harm instead of just punishing them. And we want to talk about mandatory education, skills training, and counseling instead of detention. Because we should correct our youth, not brand them. We also look at mental health, which I touched on a little bit, because unaddressed trauma often shows up as aggression. And we see how aggressive some of our youngsters can be at the simplest things. The youngster that thought we were going to shoot at the barber shop for not cutting his hair right. We've spoken about placing mental health counselors, not necessarily every school, we may not have enough to go around, but at least in every district, where teachers who see these type of things in students can direct these students into these areas, can direct these students into the person who's responsible for that and get them into some of these areas where they can get the help that they need. We're also looking at talking about getting a mobile mental health unit that can service the vulnerable communities. It drives around from different communities to go where it's needed, to a targeted set of persons and individuals and youth that need the help. We also need anonymous youth hotlines and online counseling services. We don't want to stigmatize anybody. We don't want anybody in there looking and saying, wait, that Mary son that here looking for mental health, he mad or what? We don't want that kind of thing, the stigma. We want to help these children, we want to help these youth without stigmatizing them. You cannot do it. And we have a culture here that people does it. People work in these places and bring out the information that they're not supposed to bring out. It's confidential information. We helping children, we're stigmatizing them and outing them. Whatever you learn in these places, it stays there. We got to stop with it. It's a culture that is not good. And people don't want to end up in these programs because they say, you know who's working there? You see Carol from next door that don't speak to me? She's working there. Don't go in there and tell she things. She can tell all the neighbors. A bunch of nonsense. We need reputable professionals in these situations who can act professional. I do income taxes as the moderator would have said in the U.S. I'll have a husband come in and do his taxes and a wife come and do hers. She can't ask me that about what he had on his taxes or how much he getting back. That is none of your business. I have confidentiality. We have a few lawyers in here, and they would know about client-lawyer confidentiality, doctor-patient confidentiality, certain things that I say to you. When someone that knows lawyers, the boys come and say, yeah, it's shooty. But you can't go in court and say that. We need people that will take this information from these youngsters, these families, keep it private, do their job, leave the files in the office, and come out without the information. These are the things that we need to get some of these youngsters believing in the process, believing in the system, and don't think that the system is just there to fail them. We also need to support youth entrepreneurship. Right there in my area of St. Michael's Central, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of youngsters who do their own businesses. But everybody complains. And we have a sports person that speaks about that, about the seed funding and increasing that seed funding for a lot of these youngsters. Some of them want to do barbering, some want to do different things, but nobody's giving them anything to help them. So they got to go alongside the house in a little chair and cut the hair. But some of them want to have one of these nice little barbershops with 10 bulbs going around the mirror. You can look in the mirror so that youngster can come by and shoot at the barbershop. He doesn't see himself in there a long time and know how good he look. Some of them want to do these things. They want to do nails by the side of the house. They want a little nice place to get with the 21st century, to get up there and look positive, look good. People want to come in and support them. But this seed funding does not exist. And if it does, you got to jump through hoops to try to get it. So we are talking about micro grants for youth with business ideas. We are talking about free training in marketing, bookkeeping, and digital tools. God also got to know how to control the money, open bank accounts, write checks, order supplies and certain things through the banks, through the accounts, certain things. They need to learn how to operate. They have ideas, but nobody's teaching them how to become financially stable, and as we've spoken about before, to contribute to generational wealth. They have to start, because they can be the first. A lot of people talk about the first. I was the first in my mother 8 children to go to college. But you have to start. So if they're going to be the first to start building generational wealth by opening a nice little barbershop in the mall or someplace, then so be it. They have to start somewhere and make a way for their children and grandchildren. Because the children and grandchildren are going to be saddled with a great debt after this current government is done with us, with all the borrowing left, right, and center. And you ain't seeing nothing happening in the inner cities. No roads being done. I don't know where all the money is going. Within these communities. But a lot of these politicians do not live in the community, don't even pass through the community. So they don't know what is going on. So they can't help. You have to know what is happening in order to help. If any of you have ever seen Undercover Boss on TV, there's some boss in these big corporations who don't know what the guy downstairs working in the front line does until they come down there and look, and they're appalled. And some of them end up giving these guys houses and cars and all kinds of things and making conditions better. We need somebody that on the top of the other candidates looking down and looking down on us to come down and see what is going on in the community. They don't. I live in the community, born and raised. I know what's going on in the community, though. I know where the potholes come. My car is going to hit down on them when I'm going home. I know part of the dark spots because I'm going to roll up my bin and lock my door in certain places. Because you know who lurking in the bush? They don't know nothing about this. My rabbis never been saying Philip at that point until he don't know what's going on. Mr. My house burning down. Why God call him and tell him, a house in Ceylon burning come. Ridiculous. Show that you care. Even if you don't care, at least show it. But I digress. We also look at shared workspaces and equipment access. If you can get some spaces where these youngsters can come in, you know, they got some places now you can go in. If you have a business and you don't have an office, you can go in and people got computers set up there in the office and you go in and bring in clients and look, is your office? We need stuff like that for them, that they can come in and share certain things. They can print materials, do certain things, and get their business looking profitable and looking good. We also need stronger, and we advocate at Friends of Democracy for stronger police and youth relationships. Fear and hostility between the youth and the police only seeks to widen the divide. Police come to us about somebody, I don't want to talk to the police, because it's like us against them kind of thing. It doesn't have to be like that. We advocate for community policing where officers build relationships, not just respond to crimes. Come to the community like the old police on the beat walking through and know people by name and them sort of things. We got to get back to those sort of things. If not, we're destined to fail. And we're on the trajectory of failing. We need police participation in youth sports and school programs. Like overseas, they have the police athletic league where youngsters go in, they do baseball, football, all different types of things. We need to get all of these things, and there's money floating around somewhere for all these types of programs. And like I said before, we need training in de-escalation and youth engagement. Because trust reduces confrontation. We propose to use data and target intervention. Because crime is concentrated in different areas, we know that. So therefore, prevention should be concentrated as well. We need to identify, we know a lot of them, we need to identify high-risk zones and therefore invest heavily in the youth services in those areas. We need to track school absenteeism, dropout, and youth unemployment, that we can intervene early, because prevention is cheaper than incarceration. It costs $32,000 a year to keep a prisoner up indoors. Give them 10 years, that's $320,000 you got to pay to keep them up there. We can do a lot of things to combat this, to stop these youngsters from ending up in these situations. We cannot forget our youth. Just like we cannot forget our elderly, our persons who came before us, to leave this world, as bad as it is, in a better place than they found it. We have to invest in these youngsters so that as they come up, they will come up and try to be something of themselves and leave the place a much better place than they found it as well. Youth crime isn't solved with more cells. It is solved with more chances. When young people see a path to income, and adults who care, a place to belong, and skills to build a future, crime loses its appeal. They have something else to believe in other than crime, other than the block. These are the things we need to put in place for our youth going forward, and we will see a big, big difference. Barbados doesn't lack talent among its youth. It lacks structured opportunity at scale. And if we invest early, consistently, and intentionally, we won't just reduce crime, we'll unlock a generation who has a lot to give, a lot to achieve, and can be a model going forward. I don't know how much time I have, but there is something I touched on, which is where we talk about retooling the school, the Alma Para School, into a technical career institute, and I'll touch on that a little bit more. Because for too long we have treated academic ability, especially in math, English, and spelling, as the main measure of intelligence. If a child struggles in these areas, we quietly label them as weak, slow, or behind. But what if the issue isn't really the child? What if the issue is the system? Not every student is worried for textbooks and exams. Some are worried for tools and engines, circuits, cameras, welding torches, coding labs. and construction sites. These students are not less capable, they are differently gifted. And our education system should reflect that reality. Integrating technical and vocational training into secondary school for students who struggle with traditional academics is not giving up on them. It is meeting them where their strengths lie. It builds confidence instead of crushing them. A child who fails math tests year after year begins to believe that they are a failure. Full stop. That belief damages motivation, behavior, and self-worth. But put that same child in a workshop, an electrical lab, a culinary kitchen, or an automotive mechanics bay, and suddenly they're succeeding. They can see progress with their hands. They can fix something. They can build something. They can create something. Because success changes behavior. Success changes attitudes. Success changes identity. So instead of saying I'm dumb, I'm stupid, as people like to tell them as they're growing up, and some of them start to believe it, they start saying, boy, I'm good at this. I can solve this. I just make that body that couldn't get the lights come on and out. I figuring this out. That's what we need to instill in these children, in this youth. That shift can save a young person from heading down the wrong lane, from ending up in prison. It reduces dropout rates and discipline problems. Because many behavioral issues in schools are rooted in frustration. Students who feel lost in class often act out. Not because they are bad, but because they are disengaged and embarrassed. They've been disconnected from the school from second and third form. You send them all the way to fifth form doing the same math and English, not channeling them in what they do best, what they feel best about. But technical programs give purpose. When students see a clear path to real skills and a real job, school suddenly makes sense. They are more likely to attend school and participate and stay enrolled because now they have something to get up and go to every morning. Not just hear somebody talking about math and English and algebra and geometry. They have something more to look forward to. A student learning welding for half the school week is less likely to skip school than one who feels trapped in subjects that they do not understand. And it can lead directly to employment. We tell children education is the key to success. But success does not only mean university. Skilled and technical trades and careers are in demand all over the country. Electrical installation, plumbing, construction trades, hospitality and culinary arts, digital media, and information technology. And those are some of the ones that these youngsters feel more attuned to. When it comes to the digital age and technology and these electronics, they have it covered. Even without any formal training, they know it. These are not second-class careers. These are the backbone of every economy. A student who leaves school with a certification or technical skill can earn and support themselves and even start a business far earlier than those academic graduates. Because when them spending 4 years in college, these youngsters out there getting some hands-on experience. Not discounting those, we still need the academics. This is what we call empowerment. It respects different forms of intelligence. Not ignore the different forms of intelligence. These children are learning differently. We have to embrace that, understand it, and help it. Some students are visual learners. Some are hands-on learners. Some are mechanical thinkers. And some are creative problem solvers. Traditional classrooms reward memorization and writing. Technical education rewards doing, building, designing, and fixing. When we create pathways for both, we send a powerful message. There's more than one way to be smart. And it strengthens the nation when we expand upon all the different ways to be smart and all the different ways that these children are smart. A country cannot run on lawyers and academics alone. We need technicians, builders, mechanics, electricians, chiefs, chefs, and technologists. Lawyers have their place. We have a few in our midst, in our party. But there's some in some of these academic areas that can't even do some of the technical things. It is said that Albert Einstein couldn't even tie his shoelaces till he was 16. They may be smart in one area, but other areas they find difficulties. You know, there's the old joke about how many lawyers it takes to change a light bulb. I think they say it takes 3. 1 to change the light bulb, and 2 to sue the others for malpractice. Let me get back to this. But if we wait until children leave school to discover trades, we lose years of development. Introducing technical training during secondary school builds a skilled workforce early and reduces youth unemployment. This is not just education reform. This is economic strategy. Putting students who struggle academically into technical institutes as part of their secondary education, which we have been talking about for the longest time, is not lowering standards, it is raising opportunities. It says to every child, you matter, your skills matter, your future does not depend on passing the same test as everyone else. And that might be the difference between a young person drifting and a young person thriving. They're telling me that it's my time. But on Sunday, there's a meeting at Howard Supermarket, which is my constituency. I'm talking about policy now, but on that meeting I'm coming out on fire because I got a lot to talk about in St. Michael's Central. So tonight you get some policy. We'll get some real-world issues coming up on Sunday at Howard Supermarket. But we're here in St. Michael West Central to support Katrina Ramsey. So we're asking you to go out on February 11th, vote for Katrina Ramsey, vote across the board for Friends of Democracy. We are here to keep the bees in check. Thank you, thank you, thank you all.
Christchurch to St. James Shore, we open the doors to so much more. From St. George Place.
I tell you all, that is my representative for St. Michael's Central. Thank you, Raymond Wiggins. I tell you, FOD candidates are candidates of class and substance. This party have innovative ideas, a party of caring hearts, and a party that wants to be the voice for the people of this nation. Now, there's a particular person in the country that said, give me the vote and watch me. I ain't calling the names. And we give them the vote and we watched. And what do we see? We see carelessness. We see rollbacks. And we see dictatorship behavior. FOD is here to keep the bees in check, to be transparent, and to bring integrity to this political arena, to show Barbados that there's no need for voter apathy because a fresh, new, caring choice has come to you, the people of Barbados and friends of democracy. At this time, I want to introduce you to our next speaker. She's a service-driven professional committed to community development, empowerment, and national progress. A proud Barbadian, she has built a career centered on leadership and social responsibility. She is currently an office manager in the cybersecurity industry and holds a diploma in cybersecurity with a focus on promoting digital awareness and resilience for businesses and individuals. In 2022, she founded Quality Specialists, supporting small and medium-sized enterprises with business development, payroll management, lead generation, and cyber security awareness. She's also a strong advocate for social upliftment and is in the process of establishing the Strive Trust Foundation, aimed at supporting vulnerable individuals and families facing economic and social challenges. Her work is guided by a people-centered leadership philosophy that prioritizes inclusion and opportunity. In addition, she leads Elevate Content Co., a creative agency that helps entrepreneurs amplify their voices and share their stories with impact. Now offering herself as a candidate of Friends of Democracy, Katrina Ramsey brings integrity, fresh ideas, and a people-first approach rooted in empathy and accountability. She is committed to representing everyday Barbadians and helping to build a future where all strives. St. Michael West Central, I want you to welcome to the platform your next representative. Do you hear me well? I said welcome to the platform your next representative of St. Michael West Central, Miss Katrina Ramsey.
We rise, we're forging a destiny. We fight for truth and unity. The people's voice, the people's dream is time to lead, it's time to be seen.
Good night, good night, good night, Barbados. Good night to everyone here, and good night to those listening across the country and the world as well. I'm not coming here tonight, though, with any big fancy talk or long politics. I just want to talk to my people, plain and honest. I was raised in this community right where we are. I grew up in Oxley's Road with my mother. When I was young, I used to walk this same stretch from Oxley Road all up to Raffles Shop, right up that road up there. And then over to my cousin's house. And even now, I still walk these same roads because I live here. I live here every single day. This isn't somewhere I pass through for election. This is my home. I went to St. Stephen's Primary School. I grew up in Upper Bayville, back when William used to sell food and knew everybody's business, and everyone was looking out for everybody. When I talk about St. Michael West Central, I'm not guessing. I'm living it. Some may ask, why have I entered politics? I am a young woman. I am a mother of 2 young boys. And like plenty parents in Barbados, I worry. I worry about safety. I worry about opportunities. I worry about how hard it is just to manage. And if we are honest, sometimes it feels like ordinary people just talk to walls. I entered politics because I'm tired of complaining and seeing nothing change. I entered politics because too many people feel like nobody's really listening unless election is close. And I entered politics because I believe regular people deserve a real voice, not a runaround. I don't come from privilege. I don't come from big connections. I come from right here. No, I am representing the Friends of Democracy, led by Karina Goodrich. Our mission is simple: to develop, to advocate for, and push programs to help Barbadians move forward with people first. We are here not to fight anybody, but we are here to stay and to say there's another way. So as I walk through my community and I canvass, I normally ask my constituents, what matters to you within your community? And what I have heard from them would be these things that I'm going to list right now for you. My constituency would like peace, safety, togetherness, help when things get rough, cleaner surroundings, roads that don't mash up their cars, and someone who will actually answer the phone. That isn't asking for too much, right? That is just asking for basic respect. Now, let me get straight to the point. In this day and age, people in this community still are using outside toilets. And I think other persons in other communities are also using outside toilets. This should not be happening. No one is asking for luxury. This is asking for a basic dignity. As we can do better than that, I believe we can do better than that. Safety is not only about crime, but safety is also about being able to live safe, live to walk around with your children, and walk without fear on your own street. It's about cars speeding through neighborhoods. It's about children playing outside. Elders afraid to come out late at night. A community cannot thrive if people are living on the edge. And Barbados cannot move forward if a whole community feels left behind. We need representation that shows up, listens, and acts. If you live here, you know. Potholes are a real problem. People are tired of fixing suspension and their tires. And speeding in residential areas where children live is dangerous. Potholes need fixing on time. Speed humps need placing where speeding is really happening. This isn't politics, this is common sense. Plenty people are struggling quietly. Nobody wants handouts. Sometimes they just need someone to help them find their way through the system. Social services must not feel human, not cold or distant. A constituent told me about a visit to the hospital. They had to meet one of their family members there. And unfortunately, when they got there, there was no access to seating. And as you know, when you go to the hospital, you cannot sit on the bed. And he also has a hurt leg. So you would understand you are going to visit your loved one at the hospital. And there's no seating for you to sit. And you are also in discomfort. Some persons are able to afford healthcare overseas, but most cannot. No family should have to beg online just to stay alive. Healthcare must be fair, not luck or privileged. We move into a digital age, and we're moving. But if we are honest, too many young people feel like they have to leave Barbados, know someone, or get lucky to make it. I know the talent is here. I have seen it. We need real training, real opportunities. Real people can build a life right here at home. One of the things we support is restructuring the Alma Paris School into a technical career institute. Trades, technology, digital skill, mentorship, jobs, entrepreneurship. This is practical, not realistic. This is how young people gain confidence and income. Strong communities don't just happen, they build. This is why I support community togetherness programs. We will go through this, and I would like to do some community karaoke competitions, community fun days, community domino competitions, and community showcases where people can show their talents, and also build mentorship. These programs are not just about fun, they're about bringing people together. They're about pride. Because a community that plays together, celebrates together, and connects together, thrives together. Tourism is important. Nobody denies that. But if we're honest, it's often cheaper for visitors to come into Barbados than for Barbadians to travel out. High taxes make traveling hard for ordinary people, for families, education, and medical care. Barbadians are not asking for special treatment, they're asking for fairness. When people hear ordinary Barbadians could be fined up to $250,000, it frightens them. And this is based off of the Tourism Accommodation Bill. And rightly so, they should be. And this is why the bill was now put on pause, because people should always be consulted before decisions affect their lives. Some people ask me, Katrina, why should I vote for you? And I want to answer that honestly, because honesty matters to me. No, my family has been a big BLP supporter. Before I was even born. And this is the environment that I have grown into and what I have knew. I myself have voted for the Barbados Labour Party, but if I'm being real with you, I got fed up. Fed up with the same talk, fed up with the same issues coming back every election, fed up feeling like ordinary voices only matter sometimes. Last election, I didn't vote. I thought not voting would fix my frustration. I thought sitting it out would make it, well, like, would make a statement, because, I frustrated. But it didn't. All it did was leave me still frustrated and still unheard. And that's when I realized something. If I want change, I can't just stay quiet. I couldn't keep choosing the same thing and expecting different results. So I had to make a decision, and I joined an alternative party. Correct, is that a wonderful party? Not because I hate anybody, but because I'm tired. Tired of the pretty talk, tired of the politics that don't reach real life people. Tired of feeling like we don't accept whatever we get. And I know plenty of people feel the same way. But what I can promise you is this: I will listen to you, I will show up for you, I will speak for you. I walk the same roads as you. I feel the same pressures as you. And I raise my children right here in the same community as you. I am not running to defend a party, but I am running to represent the people of this constituency. And if you feel tired like me, if you feel unheard like me, if you feel it's time to try something different, then I am asking you to consider me. And since we are keeping it real tonight, as somebody famous likes to say, so give me the vote and watch, man. St. Michael West Central deserves better. And Barbados deserves better representation that listens. My name is Katrina Ramsey, and I was raised right here. I am a mother. I am a neighbor. I am just like you. And I am trying to make life better for me and everyone just like you. So thank you for listening. Thank you for the love. Thank you for listening, and thanks for the laughs. May God bless you, St. Michael West Central. May God bless you, Barbados. Bye-bye.
Hear the drum, hear the call. Justice and freedom belong to all. From St. Lucie winds to St. Philip South, hope is alive in every mouth.
From St. John to St. Andrew.
St. Michael West Central, give she the vote and watch she. Katrina is a people's person. We don't gotta get up here and get on like we met ourselves. Is a people's person. So give she the vote and watch she. Barbadians have been asking for new and fresh faces in politics. Our friends of democracy have not only delivered, but we up the ante. Then say we got 12, and what 12 could do. But we got 12 good candidates. And 12 good candidates is better than 30 hooligans. Anyhow, don't let me get too carried away. But friends of democracy have delivered on that. Fresh new faces. We up the standard. Young, bright, intelligent minds that can move this beautiful island of Barbados forward. And you have not only heard the problems on these platforms that are facing our nation, but you're hearing solutions over and over and over again. And policies that is making sense for a brighter Barbados, a more sustainable Barbados. And as I told you earlier, we sick and fed up of the broken promises and mobby talk. We want action. And friends of democracy plans to bring action where our mouths are. And we are not only going to talk the talk, but we are telling you to hold us accountable as we walk the walk with you, Barbados. Next up, we have another young lady. She is a dynamic and passionate advocate for change. She is a zealous voice for the voiceless and a source of knowledge for empowerment across Barbados. With a proven track record of community engagement with sports, culture, and Christianity, she has dedicated her life to uplifting individuals and communities. As a young, devoted mother and survivor of domestic abuse, substance abuse, and mental health challenges, her personal story fuels her unwavering commitment to create a brighter future for all Barbadians. Her transformative journey has equipped her with a unique perspective and a powerful message of hope, resilience, and empowerment. Through her platform and educational conferences, Dominique has helped countless individuals and communities discover their strength and potential. Her partnership with nonprofit organizations such as Unborn Justice, Variety Children's Charity, Amir Empowerment, and JCI Math Phonetics, and her tireless volunteer work have made a lasting impact in many lives across Barbados. Her mission is to amplify voices of the marginalized and address pressing community issues and foster a culture of inclusive and violent-free environment. With Dominique, you have a candidate who has faced challenges, found strength, and is now dedicated to paving the way for a more resilient Barbados. Welcome to the platform, the spokesperson for people empowerment, elder affairs, disability, and mental health, and the next representative for Christchurch East Central, Miss Dominique York.
From the hill to the sea we rise as one. Hands to the work, the new day's begun. From Christchurch love to St. James pride.
Good night, St. Michael West Central. First, let me greet Madam President and the candidates from the Friends of Democracy. Thank you all for coming out. I just want to do a short exercise. Wave if you are happy to be here tonight. Wave if you are happy to see a fresh, beautiful face like that of Katrina Ramsey seeking to become the representative of St. Michael West Central. Now wave if you're ready to hear why you should vote in Friends of Democracy this election. Friends of Democracy understands what is needed to move Barbados out of the impoverished state we are in. We understand that while some are living comfortably, the majority are suffering. The Friends of Democracy's policy on VAT is the right policy prescription to alleviate poverty and reduce the cost of living of all Barbadians. This policy is to abolish the 17.5 VAT on all imported food items and establish instead a 16% point of entry goods levy, which would bring about a 19% net saving to consumers. This levy will eliminate the collection of the 17.5% value tax by third-party private sector entities and ensure that taxes on importers that have no attractive VAT are collected by the government itself at the port of entry. Additionally, in our efforts to further increase the accessibility of affordable food you need for healthy living, we will establish 11 parish food centers, one in each parish, to put 50 of the most basic and nutritious food items in your pantry, tax and duty-free. Sounds nice? Healthy living keeps us youthful. So I'm going to address the youth. The youth are the future of our island. We need to try harder to end all violence, but gun violence especially. Many of our young people are unemployed, many are homeless, but our current PM insists on taking up money from the Consolidated Fund to give to foreign companies under the Economic Diversification and Growth Fund Act 2026. If you ask me, the Barbados City Party has their priorities messed up. An alternative approach to attract investments, create jobs, and boost foreign exchange that I believe would be more promising is to invest in diversifying tourism. Such tourism offerings should be ecotourism, cultural tourism, and sports tourism to reduce the dependency on the traditional tourism sectors. Another promising alternative would be to invest in sustainable agricultural projects to enhance food security, support local farmers, and promote agrotourism and the exportation of our local foods. All the national beautification and intent to become all the national beautification and intend to become a diverse investment, yet the citizens of Barbados are still suffering. Friends of Democracy is committed to finding solutions to every problem Barbadians are facing. Problems with crime relevant punishment will be assigned, no taint law, but proper law enforcement like corporal punishment, petty crimes, slight penalties, but for murder, rape, and abuse, a harsh penalty is warranted. Therefore, we will bring back capital punishment. It's not our desire to treat Barbadians inhumanely, but to prove that there are consequences for such actions and that every Barbadian would want to refrain from attempting such. The Bible says that if any man sees his brother sin, a sin that is not unto death, he shall answer, and he shall give his life for them that sin that is not unto death. But there is a sin that is unto death. I do not say that he shall pray for it. All unrighteousness is sin, and there is a sin not unto death. So since we are on the topic of crime, I want to address the real criminals, delinquent fathers, parents, but delinquent fathers. Friends of Democracy has a policy on child maintenance procedures that will take providing for our children as single parents a lot less tedious. This policy states that there will be a fund provided to aid in the smooth transaction of receiving child maintenance from the court. Whereas the custodial parent will receive payments consistently regardless of if the other parent makes their necessary payments on time. Barbados, it's time to trust Friends of Democracy. Trust that President Carino will do a great job at running the government, or at least trust her to lead the opposition. Madam President would surely keep the bees in check. You know, accountability and equality are Friends of Democracy's top values. Our policy on equitable repayment practices by government does the people of Barbados justice. As long as you are owing the people need to have their money in a timely manner, or an interest fee will be exercised. We stand here today facing a proposal that threatens the very security and dignity of our senior citizens and workers. The plan to raise the pensionable age in 2 steps, to 67.5 years by 2028, and to 68 years in 2034, while also hiking the qualifying age to reduce pension from 61, to reduce the pension age from 61 to 63 in 3 stages. It's not just a policy change, but a burden placed on the backs of those who labored all their lives to build this nation. This measure punishes workers who have contributed to the NIS scheme with the expectation of retirement benefits at a reasonable age. In my opinion, the reasonable age should really be 56. The Lord gave us 70 years on earth, and you're telling me that we should work 96% of our lives to then try to relax or enjoy the remainder on scrap pension benefits? Increasing the pension age forces many to work longer than they planned, jeopardizes our health, financial stability, and the quality of life. According to the death rate in Barbados today as it is, a lot of persons are not living to see the day to receive pension. For those who rely on a reduced pension to survive, raising the eligibility age cuts off vital support when they need it most. This is really unfair to the citizens of Barbados. Unfair to me, although I have a long time before I get there, I cannot accept a system that prioritizes fiscal adjustments over the people's well-being, and neither should you. Instead, we must consider better alternatives. Alternatives that safeguards our seniors and strengthens our social safety net. Any reform should be carefully considered and implemented to ensure the long-term sustainability and fairness of the NAS system. Our duties as leaders is to protect the vulnerable and invest in the welfare of all citizens. This is a call on the government to listen to the voices of Barbados' workers and seniors, to scrap this harmful increase, and to adopt a compassionate, sustainable solution that puts people before paperwork. This is a call on the citizens to vote in a new government. Let us reject policies that squeeze the elderly and instead build a system where hard work is rewarded with security and respect in retirement. As I regularly say, it's people over politics always. Friends of Democracy serves the people, not exploits them. Vote Friends of Democracy. Our values are rooted in commitment, fairness, and justice. We believe every Bajan deserves access to quality education, healthcare, and affordable economic opportunities. We will work tirelessly to uphold these values and ensure our country prospers. We'll promote equality, protect the environment, and foster a society where there are not only wealthy employers, but also wealthy employees. Every sector will thrive. Tourism, agriculture, culture, culinary, transportation, roadworks, education, property, and land ownership. We will all thrive. These values aren't just ideals. They're the guiding principles that shape our policies, inform our decisions, and inspire our actions. When I joined, I didn't understand politics. I understood that the people needed policies that were put in place to benefit them. This is my reason to vote Friends of Democracy, and let that be your reason as well. Thank you, and good night.
Democracy, call our name. From St. Lucie winds to St. Philip line, this island's soul forever shine.
No more waiting, no more pain. The people
Come February 11th, we vote in Dominic York for Christchurch East Central. Thank you, Dominique. We have candidates that are coming up here that are not just speaking from theory, but they're speaking from lived experiences. And Friends of Democracy believes that leadership must understand people, not look down on them. And tonight, you're hearing leaders who understand struggle, who understands healing, and who understands empowerment, because they are for the people and they are from the people. I want to introduce you to our next speaker. He's a former student of the Boys Foundation School and a well-known sportsman, musician, and community advocate. He represents Barbados in football. He represented Barbados in football at both junior and senior levels, played professionally for KSI Phoenix, and also represented Trinidad and Tobago. He later founded and coached the Deacon Farm football team and helped promote the first island-wide Banks Road tennis tournament in Deacon's Farm. An accomplished musician, Ricky has toured international and served for 11 years as a music director of Wendy Allen Band, performing with many of Barbados' leading artists. He is also a strong advocate for Spooge and owns Trident 66 Recording Studio, where he produces and arranges music for local artists. Ricky and Dwayne Williams has remained active in the community development and politics, serving as manager of the Deacons Development Complex and as board member of UDC, COMI, and KDC. He currently serves as second vice president of the Friends of Democracy. He serves as a spokesperson for culture, youth, and sports, and continues to represent and uplift his community. Welcome to the platform, the next representative for St. Michael Northwest, Ricky Andwele Williams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. When you give me this introduction, make me feel real big. Good night to everyone. A special welcome to our leader, Karina Goodrich. Where is she? Oh, she's right here. Always got the Barbados flag, flying high. And to everybody, all the family of the FOD, thank you very much for coming up tonight. I know it's cold. People overseas, my friends overseas, Barbados is getting cold. Sometimes you can see some snow down here. Down here feel cold. I see people on coats tonight. Let me touch a very sensitive topic before you move on. My namesake touched that first. And he put me on the spot and said we'll talk about it later. I don't know how much I can talk after an attorney, because this is a case of for lawyers. Laymen like me could only have an opinion, but the lawyers know the truth. And the truth is that there got 8,000 people that ain't on the list, and dead men walking. And the only thing to do, the sensible thing to do, is to postpone till you get this thing made right. If you don't do that, it will be a travesty of justice in this country. You can hear more from the Friends of Democracy on this in the coming days. The Prime Minister has given her view. The Leader of the Opposition has given his view. And we, in the Friends of Democracy, we are not pointing fingers at anybody. This is probably an error. We're hoping that it's an error. We would not think that the Prime Minister will go that low to do that. I don't believe it. I just don't like what she said about bringing observers here. This ain't called for no observers. We ain't at that stage. Observers only observe anyhow. They can't tell you who the 8,000 people that are missing. So it don't make sense bringing observers to the country. So we hope that common sense prevails. We think that you rush the election, you rush the people, and people can get it right in time. That is the problem. Ain't a rocket science to see what happened here, because this ECB or the EBC or whatever you call the BBCs and all this here constitute of 2 members of the Democratic Labour Party too, and 3 members of the Barbados Labour Party. So it can't be a hanky-panky going around. It's just that these people, the Prime Minister likes to get things done very fast. And they think that these people were under pressure. And this is what happened. So like you walk back everything else, walk back this election. Our General Secretary come up with a fantastic idea. Put back on the 8,000 names now. Dead, alive, half dead, half alive. Put back on the 8,000 names now. And let's go on with the election. We can fix it after. Because anything else you can make Barbados a laughing stock of the world. And we come from too far to get to this position now. So forget all the semantics that they're playing on the platform and all the games that they're playing on the platform and they're cussing one another, and put Barbados first. They have a problem. A serious problem. And we can fix it, but it will take a little time to fix it. Don't rush the election. We give 5 years. It's 2 terms and you make 8 yet. We're rushing going. We still got a lot of things hanging on. It's only these 8,000 names. It would eventually get down to this. God don't sleep. A lot of foolishness happening. A lot of things that should have come to light before the election that ain't come to light. You promised an investigation in the whole project. I got a video out, Mark, corruption. Corruption, 60 million gone. You promised an investigation. You promised it, not us. You say that you will promise, you will make sure that we have a report on it. You call the election and we ain't got the report yet. And I hear a senior minister, because that's another aside now. Senior minister, junior minister, all the time some men getting some extra money. He's saying that all is well. How all could be well and the public asking for $60 million that nobody can account for? That means that the Auditor General is a liar. You're selling the
man's reputation. I hope the lawyers hear that statement that was made by Dugay. Because if Michael Lashley threatened me with defamation of character for saying nothing, but that is more defamation of character than anything else, because you called the attorney, the Auditor General, a liar. Because you said all is well with the whole project, and it ain't true. Cause the minister to get fired. So it can't be true. 60 million is a lot of money. It's in $1 billion that you give back to the people for the VAT. That's another story for another day. But 60, we spending millions, the effort is monopoly money. And it ain't got no worth. 225 million for expatriates to come and give you work. But this is the biggest joke. You know, 50 years from now when the history of Barbados get another book written about it, that can be one of the biggest jokes ever, you know. That you stop in your country and take our money out of the consolidated fund and give it to some expatriate to turn around and do a business to give you jobs. According to Stephanie, make it make sense. Well, I can't understand this. Well, this is the biggest joke I ever hear. The biggest robbery ever come down. It is 225 million Guineas, you know, that only worth $25. It's 225 million Barbados dollars of the consolidated fund. Our money that you give Mr. Ramcham and Lampam and Dudu to come here and give you jobs. And then apart from that, you get them all types of concessions too. Like we foolish, we the laughing stock of the world. White people in Barbados, as Katrina said, that live in this constituency just around the corner, ain't got a pit toilet. Ain't got a pit toilet, and you take the people money. The woman that got the pit toilet money and give it to foreigners. That's content. They got people that get 50 years in jail for less than that. It is time that we hold politicians accountable for these things. Friends of democracy talking about it all the time. That's why they want to play down there, you know. Even now they're fighting among themselves, they ain't calling friends of democracy, but the people in Barbados realizing we. So them can say with a light and play that we ain't nobody, because we is people too. And when they can't ignore me for too long, because we is people too. And we can call Pommins the more with a statement on this foolishness that's going on now. It quite got to stop. Accountability, that's why we ain't got a constitution for the republic. You can't have a constitution for the republic until they get what they want in place. Because a constitution for the republic now, in this time, will take some people sitting down and revising the laws that we had back when the Marshals sent it down here. A lot of things got changed. The power of a prime minister in Barbados is more than the president of the United States of America. And it should not be happening. The prime minister is accountable to nobody. The prime minister runs every ministry. When she walks and says, what that do is get do. Everybody get picked by the prime minister. Not directly, but indirectly. And we all know what I'm saying is true. Look at the appointments and see. Who was in the party where they know what bigger pigs. So then accountability. Barbados under siege. These people got us and making sport at us. And what is really riled me in my stomach? What is really riled me, if I wasn't a strong man, I would probably be in Jenkins. When I see people in red shirts, and jumping and hollering, these same people suffering under the hands of this government. God went on catch the ZR, and the ZR is crushing every minute while they're going to miss people. And I don't know what they give these people joy just when election time comes. Like that thing that happened in Ghana with the praying over the grave, like it got some spell in Barbados, because it got some men I thought was sensible in the lane too. How you could be jumping and hollering when you see what's going on in Barbados? But you can't love Barbados, you can't even come and tell me you's my boy, you can't be my boy. You can't love yourself, because if you love yourself, you just criticize yourself. You know when you're doing something wrong, you just beg the Lord to forgive you. These people like the feed is God, and they get away with it. You got men that were lathering the prime minister in cuss. They was cursing the prime minister more than they curse a man in a ram shop. And they're going on social media and parading and calling the prime minister the worst names. We don't do that. Up here, we call you to come. And now, these same people in the election call, singing the praise of the Prime Minister. What happening in Barbados? What the Prime Minister give these people? Besides this? Is you obey? So we ain't obey then? We'll be here. This might sound a little sporty sometimes, but this is serious business. There must be some accountability going on in Barbados. Too much things wrong. And the wrongness coming with us paying the money into the treasury and the taking the money and using the money as a light. And when they can't use it as a light, another way of using it is born it on behalf of me and you and you and you. The government don't borrow money and sign it on the Prime Minister's name or whoever borrow it, They sign it on behalf of Barbados. They borrow money on behalf of us and then take us money and spend it on them and their friends. So nothing, a man give me a list here and then tell me call it up on the platform. I wouldn't do that because I don't want the world to hear what we do in Barbados. It's billions of dollars that go on, just not going to be trillions. And we can't see nothing. I promised last night, I watched the video, 20 roads is to do. The road should be doing all that now the money spent. Don't tell me I got to put you back in to do 20 roads. But if you didn't do 20 roads in 8 years, you can do them now. If you can get, you want to get up St. Thomas. That was under construction now for the last 8 years. Bridgefield. I hear the minister and the prime minister last week talking about, and the last government get put out. Ain't got nothing to do with the last government. What type of road could take 8 years to build? Tell me, in the constituency that supported that same party all their life. Except for one time when Boxer was up there. That's how you treat people. That's how you ignore people. Call them in people too. But when World Cup cricket come, you had the road paved that would drive the procession from Kesson over to the hotels. Paved, forgetting that you got to raise or lower the hydrants. So we got back, you done a whole day, but the hydrants come up and create another pothole. And now the brakes come too, and now the roads back in disarray. I know you're saying you want some more money to fix these same roads. I hope the people in Barbados try that case with the government that in power. Wake up and do what you got to do. Because we can't continue with this another term, and we might all be ending up in the sea. Unfortunately, the opposition party is worse. We find ourselves in a bind. So we left now with Friends of Democracy. Thank God for this group. Put all of them in one bed and left them. One kill and one day and left them. Because this is where we get to. So every little thing happened before two civil people get up and say we can discuss this like with before this list. Because I don't put the blame, as they said, on nobody, but it was just a rush thing. You want to make a political statement out of it. Because in Barbados, you can get into power, because they call it power. We want to get to serve you or represent you. You can get into power, and you don't care what happens, because you can do 2 terms, you can get a pension, and you can the people. One day, the people are going to wake up. Gabby sing that song, yeah? It happened in Barbados already. Take me, police. It happened in Barbados already. In 1937, the people could not take it any longer, and the people rise up. In 1937, the only body that had a weapon was the police. I am not inciting violence. I am asking the people that are in power now to make sure they treat the people in Barbados good. Stop taking us for granted. We can't take no more pressure. From the time this government came in power, it was inflicting wounds from top to bottom. You see in sewers at the top about, they're now begging for more money now to start it again in the South Coast. Again, the same South Coast. So what happened to the North? And what happened to people that live over here that pay for the sewage that ain't got to hook up on the sewage belt? All this rubbish got to stop. Poor people, these who suffering, because the hotels ain't paying no water bill. And nobody ain't disconnecting them. This is the real truth that's happening in Barbados today. And we got people that are afraid to talk because they are afraid to die. They get threatened. I get threatened. All I said that I would like to know how a man who was in the other party could join this party after he had 3 terms, and now he got a successful law practice. What type of man could he be to jump from his ship onto this ship? And I said, he's a good criminal lawyer, because he's winning a lot of criminal cases. But he was promised the attorney general, and he get all riled up. And he can send a lawyer for me. That ugly boy can send a lawyer for me to do what? To do what? What the lawyer can do me? What the court can do me? And have to put me in jail wrongfully. You can imagine me in jail with prisoners. Teaching prisoners what to do. The man left me out here to God sakes. But don't take that chance on me. And don't try to shoot me, because I'm a man of God. If you shoot me, but it can stop right here and go across there and come back at you too. Because all I'm doing is talking the truth. And if I don't want to be my friend, when I go take the pain off of the people. Katrina Ramsey don't come here with the impassioned plea. These are the type of politicians that we want. We don't want nobody coming in the pretty talk, you know. She came and tell who I am and what I would like to do. I come out of a family with BLP. I probably voted for them before, but I realized that BLP and the LP and is one party. And they want to make a difference. So give me the vote and watch me. That's what she said. You plain and simple. She went down the road in the soliloquy and praying the pretty talk. No, she ain't cussed like Esme. She took she time and did what she had to do. Raymond took his time and spoke about what we would like to do with the education system, because they make a mess of it from the time back they own half of the Motley and EduTech. They ain't get it right yet. EduTech and billions gone. Raymond just explained the educational program that the Friends of Democracy got, the policy of Friends of Democracy that touches everybody, even those that got dyslexia or ADHD or anything that seems to other people that is normal. Because I know how people can tell another man he is normal. He's just different. But there's nothing in Barbados to provide for those people. So FOD got the plan for it. We talk about food centers. Because the problem in Barbados is people hungry. People want food. And if we could get food available to people, cut out the middleman, it will get cheaper. We ain't got to be rocket science to know that. 11 food centers will also employ people. And you can make people start planting food. So I'm saying they can't take all the money and get back to Trinidad. Then we get real here. We got to empower our people. I tell you that it's hurting my belly and hurting everybody, but people are afraid to talk. I come to speak for those that are afraid. Because I'm frightened. Everybody, I was telling Matthew early, everybody is not called to do everything. I wouldn't expect my son to say what I say at his stage in life. But my back broad now, because he's my son already, I got my children already. Do what they want to do with me, but they going down fighting for the people. Ricky get it here and he talk about the crime situation. He spell it out like ABC, because them can't get work. Both governments can't get it work. So the only way we can get it work is to use the views and the policies of Friends of Democracy. I can go further. You heard the last speaker, Dominic York. You see the type of people that we got, no? You see the type of people that we got? Some, I call it virgin people, untouched. People that ain't got the hand in the cookie jar that owes nobody anything. You don't got to give back nobody VAT, FOD if you get it, you know. We ain't got no friends in high places, you know. We ain't got to give back nobody VAT for helping in elections, you know. You see we be out here tonight. We come out here tonight, we ain't got the big fan down that they got, you know. And we ain't paying the buses, and getting in the shirts, because you know Bayesian's good. Many Bayesians going in red shirts and eating and drinking and ain't voting for nobody. That's how it is. They ain't fooling me. But if it look to the public, when they put the cameras in, they got people there walking up, you think that they're voting for you alive? Because 52%, remember said it was Steve, 49% of people ain't vote. Them is the people on the track. Them is the people that snatching mic at me, fake down in St. Lucie and curse. Because you can't tell me you didn't know the DJ that you bring. You had to know the DJ that you bring, so you orchestrate that. I hold you accountable for it as the person responsible for the fact. Don't get no excuses for it. We under siege. I keep saying that we under siege. Sports, I have been an athlete my whole life. I excel in football, but I could play cricket as good. I play tennis as good. I play hockey as good. I play basketball as good. I swim as good, even though I'm from VC. I was a born natural athlete. I blow my trumpet. This is a fact. Last week, a man that played for me in the national team, actually he was the captain in the national team, Mike Edmund, he died like a dog in this country. He was suffering with dementia. It was all about the place walking. This is a national player, you know. This is a man that put on blue and yellow and represent this country, you know. It was sad. It is hurtful. And he's out there now. And if we don't appeal to the other players to come, he might go down as John Doe. He might go down as John Doe, a national representative. That's how we just take people, because he is Mike Edway from somewhere around the village or something. So we just take our heroes and treat them like that. And the people that in the villages like us, God, remember that we is people too. Don't let them come to you in election time. You never see them before. And all of a sudden they come down in election time, and something that may got deep pockets and they can let go a couple $1,000, take it. Because they think that all we worth is a throw a little thing at you, and you can vote for them. Don't let it happen this election. You see that we hand them out. Don't let it happen this. Let me set the standard FOD setting. We come to represent and serve you. And we can go to learn from breath for this country in Barbados to do. We could have passed this with 36, you know. You know, Mr. People want, right? We could have got 36 too, you know, but it wasn't worth it. We had to pick 12 good people. God sent 12 good people to us. And we could only grow from there. When it's our time, you will see that when we rise to the top, like cream, because cream always rises to the top, that we will produce a government in Barbados that they never saw before. A accountable government. A government of the people. Servers of the people. That's what Barbados is looking for. Everybody is saying the same thing about the politicians in Barbados. Go from my house, man. When all one is crooks, nobody wants to see when they don't do nothing for nobody. Don't one of these candidates here can't tell me that they meet that 99% of the time. And you know where it's coming from too? Young people. Carry it right around. Yeah. Young people. When you got young people, that should be your future. Turn off from the government, from the affairs of the country. It means one thing I know for sure, it is deliberate. Because it keeps them in power, because no vote votes them back in power. So it keeps them in power, and young people will go and do a lot of mischievous things and end up in that big place up there that me and Marty built, called Dodds. A big lockdown place that carries a lot of people. It does, in jail. This is what is happening in this country that we live in. And we got an opportunity, you know, people, I speaking to the people in their houses, you know, that some of them ain't coming out because they're afraid to be seen by association. And because they know the victimization, they might go work tomorrow and here to get a letter, or you see, I see you down by FOD, don't come back here, because that is the practice in Barbados. Nobody can tell me it ain't happening. They got people here that get victimized like it. And this is what, I can't help saying, this is what FOD is coming to you to get. Now you can say, and you tell us every day, man, when they're going to be the same thing as the rest, I said, that ain't true. Examine the candidates. Just examine them individually, and you can see, and you ain't like the one up there in St. Philip last year. You can see, talk to her then, because a candidate don't get up today and become a candidate or minister, you know. He had a life before. He grew up, and you don't just become a rat. You did be a mouse before. You could see what these people was doing. But unfortunately, they fool us. But that to get into office, you got to go a degree. And you got to be a doctor or lawyer. And we put their hands in these people. And these people carry to the bone. They carry to the bone just as bad as white people before, or worse. That's what they do. Grind you. So we got to re-examine who we vote for. We can't expect to keep going into election after election with the same people. I like the Prime Minister. She speaks eloquent. I don't know what eloquent means. Because I know speaking is communication. However you get the people to understand it, that's where it is. But she speaks eloquent. And she's a world star now. We don't vote you for the world star. If you want to be a world star, put down the Prime Ministership and take a microphone there, Alexa part and start to sing. Or dance. Let me see what world star is. We got Rihanna doing that already. And the other people. So, you see how they got me fooled though? Because the press can be used to suit people. The press can be manipulated to suit people. Money is made the mayor fly. A lot of people don't know that you can get any renowned journalist in the world to do any program for you if you put some money. He can make you look like the Pope one day, and the next day he can make you look like Al Capone, as long as you're paying for it. But when the real titles come and the real elections come, all the canvassing that you do, see who get the job. And where you end up, I think he can do one more term. I think he can do one more term. That's the talk. I was not supposed to be here. I can done, but I think I can do one more term because Barbados needs me. And Barbados is going further and further and further down the gun. And the man told me last time, you can't be saying that about the Prime Minister. She's an international person in the world. We're here. The world's supposed to hear everything we're doing. Because them start the world thing. Them is the first people in politics in Barbados that really went down on social media. Steve Blackett was out for that. When the Democrat Party was getting the licks, it was getting the licks on social media. The sewage when in the street was all over the world on social media. The Prime Minister admitted last night. I don't know if people don't listen to these people, you know. The Prime Minister admitted last night when she went IMF, the woman, okay, remember, Letard, whatever it is, the woman name, asked her, you got the sewage on the street? How she know about it? So when you tell me that we trying to make Barbados a banana republic, and they say we should be banana republic already, and they use the term, and it's not special for you. Man, they want to keep you. See the president special? Was she Jesus? She's Jesus? But the only boy special for me is God? What makes she more special than God? I can sit up with she. Or she's saying them with me, and I can get angry. But she is, and she said she was ashamed. You put it on social media. Okay, Donovan and then sabotage the Democratic Party with it. And the day after the elections, the sewage went off the street. You think people is fools? And now you're creeping back now, a couple years after, and say you want some fresh money to go and do a sewage project out there. After you take it from the street and put it over there. Got Graham Hall no shut down because everything dead at Graham Hall with all the things that went on inside there. And people in Barbados, you try to tell me, when you don't understand this, when you go understand what's happening, when you go understand what is happening, it is evident. It isn't like one time you only got infusion. Social media is all around. Stop being mendicant. Stop putting out your hand to get free money and stand up like men and women. I got some friends. They were my friends. They're my friends no more, you know. I call them now acquaintances. And just now they ain't going to be acquaintances. Because at this stage of my life, I don't want nobody skinning in my face and stabbing behind my back. I could do without them. And look, I could take that from a woman. But when a man doing it, it is worse. And like I said, these men ain't got no balls. Run and hide. Run and hide. And do all types of, we call it in Trinidad, mama guy thing. Before they stand up as men. I said the Prime Minister will give you 1,000 JPs. 1,000 JPs. We buy votes in different ways, you know. Some got criminal records. We buy votes. We buy votes. I mean, JP is supposed to be something that got a little honor in it, man. You know what they call it? They call it a justice of peace. Justice is judge. JP's got some authority to do some things, so you got some type of responsibility to be a JP. That's my figure. You can't just take anybody and make the JPs. 3,000 people supposed to get permanent appointments in civil service. But here the catch. People will wake up. You could only get it. It can't happen now because election call. Not the fella ain't get nothing, so the man now that want that little pick, because the name's there. They forced to vote for the Barbados Party, because anybody else get in, they might rescind their names. So they go, that 3,000 is 3,000 votes for sure. You see what's going on in Barbados? You really see what is going on in Barbados? 30 little people up on Silver Sands Beach. 30 little people up Silver Sands Beach, raking rocks and looking at one another and laughing and looking who got the cell phone and thing. We knew that elections was going to call. The election called 3 days after that video come out. This is the type of politics that happen in Barbados. Like we got to stay in power at all costs because it's about being in power. Because you're in power, you could fly about the world as you want to fly about. You could go Dubai, all about at the expense. I would like to hear the expense of the travel bill. I would really like to hear it. You don't have to go because in COVID you can go anywhere and everybody communicate with some type of Teams or Zoom or whatever it is. You don't have to go nowhere. There's very few meetings now that you got to go in personally. So why you got to keep flying all the time? So Barbados always had a good record. Barbados is a country that always had a good record in this world. It started with a man called Errol Walton Barrow. I don't know much about Grandy Adams. All I can say is that Grandy Adams became the Premier of Barbados. He became the Prime Minister of the Caribbean in 1958, and by 1962, they're done with it because the other Caribbean countries did not want no Belgian to run it. And they put up Grandy Adams. That's why I know Grandy Adams, he came back here and then he quickly fizzled out and the son came forward, a tyrant. But Errol Barrow, least people forget, this is who the real people are that the world got respect for. People talk about, no Prime Minister in Barbados was never do the things that me want to do. Hush him if you don't know. Let me educate you, man. 1968, 2 years after independence, Errol Barrow was invited to the White House. The White House. The White House. You understand what I'm saying? You know what the White House is? The President of the United States of America residence. Errol Barrow and his wife sat in the Oval Office with the President of the United States of America. At the time was Lyndon Johnson and his wife, and had tea and what. I don't know what was in the teacup. But Errol Barrow was there. That's a man of standing. And hear what he said after that meeting? Barbados is friend of all and a satellite of none. And the whole world respected him. The whole world. Because if fast forward and put Errol Barrow this time, Donald Trump and them wouldn't be trying to force we to do things that we don't want to do. Because they had respect for him. They don't have any respect for our Prime Minister. Because you can't tell me you got to take me that you saying. You can't tell me that unless you got something for me. You could tell me at my house who's to come in my house. Miss Ellie, anybody can come in your house and say, I send you some boy there. Oh, I can't get this to work out. It can't work, so. Good night there. A special journalist there. I don't want to call her name because they might try to they can't do she nothing though because she made already. Ladies and gentlemen, give a hand to Jersin Carter, please. A proper lady that did a tremendous job in journalism in Barbados. The oldest teenager in Barbados, I really say. This is what happened in this town. We take the legacy of this man and want to trade away. It can't go away. Friends of Democracy has the legacy of Errol Barrow. Not the other ones in George Street. This crowd. We can keep his legacy alive. We know that he is gone. And we have to build on what he had. So we ain't saying that we waiting for him now. But none of these parties ain't built on Errol Barrow's legacy. He left the education there, they ain't do nothing about it. But one thing they went to take it away. They ain't do nothing. He built tourism, they ain't do nothing about it. He take agriculture, agriculture is non-existent, except for when we put Omar in there. Everything is wrong. Everything is wrong. These people have not built on the legacy of Errol Barrow. No one he says, throw me in the sea. I don't want to be wrong, these people. These people forget. I can finish with this. When we were fighting for independence, the English said, we can get independence, but you got to convince me that the people in Barbados want independence. You know who lead the charge against independence? The Right Party. They led the charge against independence. The same Grantley Adams, the Right Party. The on the 40s, but the Barbados State Party was in it, deep involved in it. They led the charge again. No wonder when they tried to get rid of Independence Day, that was one of the reasons called the independence always stuck in their craw. And they can't get rid of it. All notice that you can't get rid of it. Up to now, Barbados we still talk about independence. Because independence is a significant part of our history. Not republic. Independence. You know what independence is? A lot of people don't understand what republic is. Republic, you only swap a man. All you do is swap a man, you know. With the republic, all you did is swap a man. But independence gave it. I can bet he supported the Red Party. Independence gave us, I don't like to use the word pride, but it gave us a sense of belonging, man. That's the word, right? Belong. We felt like somebody. We got a new nation. We got a flag. Tell me what Republic did for us, besides swapping the flag. I mean, swapping the man. Not part of the Commonwealth. Well, it don't make a difference. It don't make a difference. But he instilled, his foresight instilled that in us, that now he said these hills and fields, we call our north very own. Prior to that, we had a man here, Drax, up there, that me and Motley promised to give some millions of dollars for land that belongs to we. That the history of slavery took a blueprint on the way he treated slaves in Barbados. Right here in St. George, 30,000 black people died on that plantation. Draxall plantation in Barbados. They just talk about Africa and burying flag and this atrocity that happened right here in Barbados. I don't hear the government talking about it. They don't talk about it. And then we went to negotiate with a criminal in England that probably never see Barbados yet, but owns prime real estate in Barbados. But you could go and tell them it's Ramland and get another Beijing, which is not lawful. You could take them as Ramland, but a man in England that ain't had nothing to do with Barbados, that got acres and acres of air, you can't tell, you don't even come back from his shores. So what Republic do for me? Tell me what it do for me. I can't get work out. And you doing these things and think that we're fools. And the politicians, nobody ain't giving some. What are you talking at all? What are you doing? You unfair, Miss Ram. What you did was unlawful with Miss Ram, because you cannot take a land from one citizen and give to another citizen. Not a private citizen. That's against the law. But when you run the law, you run everything, Barbados has become now a dictatorship. Not a saint yet. And the husband died with a broken heart. Died with a broken heart for that unfair injustice that was done to that lady. And you can see where like about Miss Ram. Miss Ram made sure that a lot of Barbadians get a start in Barbados. Kerpelani, Furniture Limited, all them people, Miss Ram made sure Albert brought her from Trinidad into Barbados and she started some industries here. So at least you forget. But the man Drax, all he do is kill 30,000 black people. And they treat him to this day as a hero. We want to negotiate with him to give him, again, our money. When we should be trying to get Donald Trump to go and take you out to England and carry to America and try him. Because Trump good at it. That's what's happening. But he's up there in the houses making laughing sport. We got Republic Day and we brought King Charles down here. We getting rid of King Charles and we brought him down here. You see the sport that making that Barbados? And people walk about, that's the Gary. You know when this should be in Jenkins. Come on, God be mad. We were too intelligent of people to be thinking like that. We passed that stage of life. You may be going right back in. This government carry right back in to that same level that another old man years ago, a relative, had Barbadian feeling. That's what happened to Barbados. So tonight, I could talk to 20 past 12, 11th of February. But there's so much things going on. But I got to introduce the president. Before I get there, we got 3 candidates around here. 4. Don't worry about me. I can win my seat. Don't worry about me. I can win my seat. I go win my seat. At the people in St. Michael Northwest, God, I ain't nobody that just come. I ain't got a billboard. I ain't want a constituency office. I ain't come for that. I ain't come this time to be, I ain't want the fringes around me, I'm a server. I was serving these people my whole life. My family was serving these people my whole life. That's when they went to nomination event with my family. Because I'm a family man. And St. Michael Northwest is my family. And we got to come together as a family and rebuild this community. So I see that they got a man out here like a film star with billboards all around. Like he's a film star. He lives in front of us and he has no resume. You know what I've been speaking? He ain't got a resume. So I know I'm Raymond Northwest. But you see out here, you see Katrina Ramsey, she convinced me tonight. If I was out there, not in this party, and they were saying they didn't vote, I would say I'm going to vote for that lady. If I was out there. Wait a minute with that music. Wait a minute with that music. I endorse Katrina Ramsey. Katrina Ramsey. See, we got Katrina or Karina. I endorse Katrina Ramsey. She brought her heart here tonight. Everybody in this constituency that can hear me, when you go in that booth, look for Katrina Ramsey. She's from among here. She knows what Victoria is. She knows the sufferings of y'all. Next door is Ricky Harrison. Just next door. I endorse him too. That's just up the hill. Some of them can hear me now. And right to the other side out there is Raymond Wiggins, a man of the community. You can't get better community service than him. This is the type of candidates that we bring. Good night and God bless you.
Ricky Andrelia Williams, next representative for St. Michael Northwest. We want to thank you. Our last speaker for tonight, Miss Karina Goodrich, is an attorney at law with over 5 years of practice in civil law, litigation, contract, estates, and personal injuries. She ran in the January 2022 elections in St. Philip West and made strong connections and new relationships as a first-timer in the political race. Karina is highly goal-oriented and possesses a spirit of determination that does not allow her to give up under any circumstances. Her professional background is in banking and insurance. She has written numerous of articles that were featured in the Nation newspaper of Barbados. She has been a voice on brass tacks, commenting on different topics, and especially on the youth. She did youth development program with Agape Help Counseling Services. She is a God-fearing woman and puts him first in everything. She sings and writes her own music, which was featured on the radio. Karina's first talent show was the Richard Stout Teen Talent Show, where she was a finalist in 2006. She was also a part of the Honey Jam Barbados 2013 showcase. She is a former Garçonian and has always exemplified leadership skills and reminds people that it does not matter where you start, but it matters where you finish. She's also the registered business owner of Eastwind Legal. She entered politics to make a difference and give back to her nation. I want you welcome to the platform, Madam President, and next representative of St. Philip West, and the next opposition leader of Barbados, Miss Karina Goodrich.
From the hill to the sea we rise as one. Hands to the work, the new day's begun. From Christchurch.
Thank you. Good night to one and all. I know that you just made some noise for me, but I want you tonight to make noise for the candidates that we have in the St. Michael areas. Because I have a candidate in St. Michael North, St. Michael West Central, and St. Michael Northwest, and I did say St. Michael Central. So we have 4 St. Michael candidates. So put your hand together tonight and show those candidates some love, because they are nominated and will be contesting in the next general elections right here in Barbados. I want FOD to practice making noise, because when the bees are outside, the bees are going to be making noise. So we got to keep on making noise and be the voice for the voiceless. And that is who we are, the voice for the voiceless. Every voice that was unheard, we are that voice. And we will continue to advocate wherever our candidates are, and for Barbados, and reinforce that we are keeping the bees in check. And I know some people would wonder, why are they so focused on keeping the bees in check? But we are saying no to mismanagement, no to lack of oversight, no more lack of transparency, no more lack of accountability. We want to ensure that this country is under the oversight, and we must keep checks and balances when decisions are made. And I can tell you that yes, we are in the campaign season, and elections, yes, will be on the 11th of February. And we have to go to the polls and make a decision. But what about the physical polls? Right here in St. Michael, as I look across at that poll and I see Ian Gooding Edge Hill, I'm seeing Staples in that poll. I received a letter from the Barbados Light and Power. My letter is dated 19th of January 2026. And in that letter, the Light and Power is trying to tell us that when you are campaigning and you are putting posters on that pole, as a safety precaution, do not put nails, do not put staples. It is hazardous to the linemen. And yet still I can look around right here in St. Michael and see staples in the polls. And I'm saying this because if anyone is an MP, a representative of the people, you must follow the rule of law in this country. Every regulation, you are not exempted to it. If you are a leader, you have to lead with the right protocols and rules. You cannot say you're a leader and you ignore these things, because if you continue, you are basically telling every lineman that has to go talk that poll that what you are doing, you could care not what happened to them. And the letter stated to clean up the poll, clean it and clear it up if you yourself have done it. And these are the things that people don't want you to talk about, but you have to talk about, because these may seem as though they are little, but it is not. Rules have to be followed. This is not the same example of the Tent Law, where the country has to comply, but then the ministers are exempted. We must stand up, Barbados, and say no to behaviors like this. Because you could stand with me, and if you look there at the pole, you will see the staples, you will see the nails. So we have to get it right, because if a lineman goes up there and his clothes are hooked up in any of the staples, what would happen? What would happen? I have to come and constantly remind Barbados that we all have to comply with the rules, not the small man at the bottom. The rules are made for everyone. And I will reinforce it. And this is another reason why we have to keep the bees in check, because somebody got to hold them accountable when things are going wrong in this country. So we have to ensure that we bring back transparency, because in this country, there are a lot of unanswered questions, even though the election is coming. And as you have heard from the candidates, there are a lot of complaints concerning the preparation of the election. Because many people are complaining and are saying, hey, my name is missing off of the list. I am not on the list. There are people who are not yet ready and prepared, and they have a democratic right to vote. They have their democratic right to vote, and they do not want to be excluded from voting because they want to ensure that they can cross the X on that day to choose who they want to represent them. So we are asking and we're telling the government to ensure that all of those errors will be rectified as soon as possible to get the matter dealt with as soon as you can, because we are the voice of the voiceless. So we have to speak on their behalf. We cannot allow matters to keep happening and then no one is speaking out about them. These are things that we Barbadians have to stand up about. You want to go on election day and you want to ensure that your name is there so that when they have to cross off your name and you present your ID, you are prepared to vote. Again, that is your democratic right. You have a right to vote. And I want to reassure you that FOD, Friends of Democracy, is going to ensure that we speak on your behalf. Now, one of the things also that concern me, I will call it duppyism. Because I recognize that the Barbados Labour Party encourages this idea of supporting the duppies that the graveyard don't want. And I will tell you where I'm going with that. Because these people are being restless and trying to pull down FOD with online fake accounts. And these duppy, ghost, fake accounts are being used to trick the country and the citizens of this country that they have all the support. And yet still, this is a government that says they support in this country that they do not encourage cyber harassment. But yet still, there is so much digital bullying in political campaigns where people will create fake accounts. I don't know if they're using the duppy names or the ghost names, but they are fake accounts. And when you look at these fake accounts, you can see that they were created just 3 hours ago. So my Barbadian people, don't be fooled. This matter is serious because when it was International Women's Day, we were speaking about women not being subject to digital violence. And we, FOD, will continue to speak out that we do not support the cybercrime and the cyber harassment or the cyberbullying. And we cannot set it as the standard where we allow people to be then using the internet to bully others. Whether it is campaigning or not, it is wrong. And it is creating a deception and an illusion. Because it is making people believe that they have all of this support. If you have so much support, use your real people. Use your real names. This cyber violence must come to an end, where people will seek out candidates and send evil messages, wicked responses, and try to pull down candidates. And today I am using this forum to say no to cyber violence, no to cyber harassment of candidates. We are here to ensure democracy, to ensure that we are a voice for the people, and that is an act of good faith. Every candidate who stands with me is carrying out an act of good faith, and as we carry out that act of good faith, we say no to the cyber harassment, because it is something that is current in Barbados. And I know it is not only from the Barbados Labour Party, it is also carried out by the Democratic Labour Party. From the time you start to build momentum, from the time you start to speak out, then you will recognize the fake accounts are coming at you. While serious matters have to be dealt with, it is a national distraction. Hospital need resources at QEH. People have to be on the floor. People suffering from flu. You need more money to build another hospital, and we are advocating that a hospital should be built either in the north or centrally located. And these are matters that should concern us, the citizens, because everybody got a family member who has gotten sick, or they themselves have been sick before. And when you have to go to A&E, you recognize the long waiting hours. When you need a surgery, you recognize that it's not only a day that you're waiting, but you're waiting for years. And that is why we are advocating that you need another hospital. We have to say no to ill treatments, no to anything that pulls us down as citizens of this country. Friends of Democracy have brought you the solution, St. Michael. And we have the solutions and the policies. Sometimes the policies here that have been created do not reflect our living reality. And this is why you need the right policies. I have been advocating for all over Barbados that you need legislation that is innovative and groundbreaking, legislation that can solve social issues, legislation that can help the masses and not just a selected few of people, legislation that can help to propel Barbados forward. That is what you need. There are women in this country who have to go to work and they are suffering from menstrual pain and endometriosis. And up until now, I have not heard a governmental conversation about a policy being enforced for those women. There is none. And that is a social issue because it affects more than one woman in this island, in this country. So who is going to stand up for the women? Everyone has a mother, or not. How did you get here? How did you get here if you did not have a mother? So we have to look out for the women in this country. And when women feel the pain, they should not be stigmatized at work. Why is there not a conversation concerning the work from home days? When you are in pain, the law is there for you to support you. At times, yes, you may have to implement a law that is punitive, but it can't be punitive all the time. You need the legislation that will solve the matters that bother the public. Barbados, I want us to remember this, because this is the time where I need you to be thinking before 11th of February comes. I want you to be thinking about what can better Barbados, what can better you as a citizen. You need people that want to be real heroes, real ambassadors of this nation. Politics shall never be continuously about the power and the money. And if I have to pave the way, and the Friends of Democracy candidates have to pave the way, we will pave the way for a better Barbados. We will agitate, we will advocate, and we will develop the programs and the policies for the development of Barbados as a whole, because that is our mission, that is our mantle. So when they're criticizing Friends of Democracy and try to put us in a bracket to say this is a new party, or they try to say this is a third party and third parties don't make it, I am here to say on behalf of Friends of Democracy that we are here to create history. There will be a history created through the Friends of Democracy. We will stand and we will represent Barbados. And that is why everywhere I go, I represent patriotically by taking my flag, because that is my pride. And I recognize, and I said it before, that many Barbadians have to know their cultural identity. We are Bajans, and that means we should know every historic site in this nation. And that is one thing that the government have dropped the ball on. Because when tourists come to this island and they visit those historic sites should be cleaned. This is for cultural tourism. This is for education. This is to understand where we are heading. Because if we don't know where we came from, how are we heading somewhere? How are you putting people to lead you that do not even understand the history of Barbados or care to know the history? We have to know our history. And some of us, if I ask you a question tonight and I say, where did the name of Barbados came from? Some of you may stutter, and that is wrong. You should know why did we call Barbados Barbados. There are things about this country that you should know. It is never just about voting. It is never just about electing people for a seat. We have to know how we can push cultural tourism. We have to know if we are saying that tourism is the bread and butter of the nation. Why is it the bread and butter of the nation, and how we can keep it as the bread and butter of the nation? We have to. And this matter of voter apathy, it has to be dealt with. I grieve that we are going into an election and there is so much voter apathy all over the nation in many areas, and this should send a sign to the Barbados Labour Party that, look, there is something wrong with the governance over the last 7 years if there's so much voter apathy. Because if many residents and citizens were pleased, then there would not be so much voter apathy. There has been much disappointment, and Friends of Democracy has to build back trust and confidence in the citizens of the nation, and we must do so by action. We must do so by being the change. We must do so by being the voice of the people. We must do so by exemplifying our mission and our goals, and showing and reminding each and every Barbadian that we bring a difference to the nation. We can no longer sit by and allow our citizens to decide, I will not vote, because a decision will be made with or without you. And that is the sad reality, because if the election passes and you recognize that the budget comes in April and you are hearing things that you don't want to hear, what would you do then? You cannot then sit in sorrow. I have been asking more than once, what was the budget for the Carafesta? There are people who have been complaining that they were not paid as yet. We are citizens, and if it is one thing that I know about Barbadians, it's that they do not like people messing with their money. When you work, you want to be paid. No one works so for free, and we are no longer slaves. We are no longer in slavery. So when you see the young girl out here asking what was the budget for the Carafesta, and I will continue to ask it, because I have a feeling and I know that I'm not going to get an answer until the elections have passed. But that is a problem, because we know that when you don't know what was spent and you fall under the delusion of a great enjoyment and a nice time, that a tax could be coming your way. Because if there was waste in the economy, you are the one who have to pay the price. I will always come and take the mic and speak the truth. I remind Barbadians of what is happening behind the scenes, because we get excited and we get taken away in the celebration. And we applaud Carol and we say, yes, Carafesta was good. But after the celebration, what next? Were the individuals who took part in the celebration paid? Did everybody get what was due to them? These are the things that we must get right in this nation. Because Friends of Democracy is looking out for you, St. Michael. Where you hear us discussing the VAT policy, we are looking out for you. Because we understand that in this country, the cost of living is high. We understand that you need to go to the supermarket and you have to shop. There are some people who decide to shop monthly, and there are some people who go weekly. But the story stays the same. You want a reduction on your food bill. I have canvassed, and every time I spoke to people about this policy, they said, yes, we do agree. We support this policy. This is a great idea. I have only met few people who would have said, okay, but if you do remove it, how would you ensure that the economy can still function? And I continuously remind them that if they could say, well, we write off the 1 billion before, then you can do it. And if you can introduce the economic diversification growth fund bill and say that you can take up that $225 million out of a consolidation fund, it means that you can do it for the people. If you can do that for businesses, yes, you want an increase, but you have to do it for the people. Barbadians need an ease. They need an ease. 35%, because you're getting 17.5% at the ports of entry on the food, and then and the same 17.5% at the retail end. Barbados double tax. And we are here telling you, and we are giving you a 19% net saving, because we want to introduce a 16% flat tax. Let the government pick up what they have to pick up at the ports off of the food. All the time we are importing food. Barbadians want to look at the food bill and see a reduction. So when Minister Ryan Strong came out, I was like, it's not feasible. We said, no, we will enter a VAT war if we have to, on behalf of every Barbadian, to ensure that Barbadians get that reduction. And I hope that Barbados will stand with us. This is nothing about just a third party. It is about you. It's about fighting for you, fighting for your rights. Too many times politicians want you to be hand-to-mouth. They love the idea of keeping you down low so you can look up to them. The time is now where you say no to that. We want the right policies in our lives. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in the UK. It happens in America. Why should it not take place in Barbados, where we have the policies that help us, the policies that help to reduce the cost of living? If the government was seriously thinking, they wouldn't be telling you just about a 2% increase, because you will recognize that that does not help to ease the burden of the hot cost of living. 21%, 21 cent, 2% increase. You know the cost of bread. You know the high cost of living. And you know the ripple effect, because Friends of Democracy have been telling you that every time there's an increase, and you know how it is with the businesses. When they hear increase, they are already thinking about how much they can save. So if you're supposed to work 40 hours, you know sometimes that your hours get cut. This is the reality that we are in today. And all of the issues that we are facing in this country, we know very well that they are very interrelated. So when you have a high cost of living, then you recognize that some youngster have a gun, and that youngster then decide, how am I going to survive? And they have to use that same gun in order for survival, because they understand that they don't have another opportunity because of lack of employment. Interrelated. And from this platform, we are not saying that is right, but we are understanding that this is the reality. And that is the problem that I have, because I recognize in Barbados, the perception is so different to the actual reality. So we perceive that everything is all fine because the ministers will come out with statistics and tell you that. But then when you are going to the same markets and you are going through life, you recognize, but this thing ain't making no sense. We find it hard to survive. And that is why I keep reminding you that you need the right policies to help you in your daily life. The policies that have been passed have been very punitive. Again, take for example the tint law. We don't want you to forget, because elections is coming. And when you go to cast your votes, I'm going to remind you. Did you receive any statistics or a survey that showed that the tint legislation solved crime? Or that survey showed that all the crime that was happening, or the majority, was related to tinted cars? No, governmental decisions have to make sense. And then now, with the tint law, it was costing a lot of Bajans a lot of money. So Bajans then had to go and spend money to take the tint off of the vehicles. They made a decision, and when there was an outcry, they then had to deliberate again. But there you are, you spend your money, another expense, because of a policy, a law that was implemented, not properly thought through. Then you are driving with your car, with everything exposed. That makes you vulnerable, and the crime is still continuing, because the fellas get smart. They said, okay, they're looking for tinted cars. I will get on a motorcycle and I will commit the same crime. It is about time that there's a resolution to the crime in Barbados, because the tint law did not solve the matter. It did not. All it caused the Barbadians is a great expense. And the Friends of Democracy are advocating that tint law be abolished. We have to stand up against it. Because when things are not making sense, why are we just blindly following it? Just because the masses has made a decision. Do you recognize in the country that you need a strong opposition? Friends of Democracy, we are saying that we want you to make us your opposition of this country. And we will advocate for you, because you need a strong opposition. Because if a strong opposition was in Parliament, that law could not be passed. And that is why you need strong opposition. Because even with the Economic Growth Fund, Diversification Growth Fund Bill Act, you would have recognized that the economists had issues, because there were a lot of things that were not cleared in terms of the collection of the funds and how it will be operated. And still it passed. Lack of true opposition. And that is why we are saying, hey, we want to continue to keep the government accountable. We want to be the eyes that will give oversight. We want to ensure that there is transparency. There was no transparency, St. Michael, when it comes to that question about privatization of the transport board. A document was leaked, and that is how we find out. Is that how much we are worth? And the opposition is not just here to criticize everything. We are here to bring the reality. And the reality is there was no discussion about it. And we want to ensure that we have transport boards being managed by the government and not by a private entity. And I will tell you why. We come from the era of time where we use Rocklink and Elite, private buses. and we move away from that so that we will have a bus fare to pay that is reasonable. And when it is privatized, it means that we will have to pay more, because no private business is going to say, get on the bus for $1. None. They are not going to give you it that cheap, because businesses like to make a profit. Private businesses want a profit. And our elderly love to get on the bus and be able to show their little ID cards that gives them that permission to ride for free. They have already served in this economy. When the transport board now is privatized, it means every elder person will have to pay whatever rules apply. And these are things that we have to think about, because we should be making a hard cry and saying no to it. We can no longer sit down and be passive. We have to stand up and say no to the privatization of the transport boards, because it is us that will have to pay the high price. And if the drivers decide not to go certain roads and certain routes, what are we going to do? Because if you come and vote in 30 BLP seats on election day, who's going to speak on your behalf? You need somebody on the other side. You need somebody who's going to say no to the privatization of the transport board. Look at what happened with the tourism accommodation bill, Barbados. Did you read the news articles? There were advocates speaking and saying they are not even giving concessions to the persons who operate the Airbnb businesses and the small businesses. But then you're going to have all the draconian measures to say that people must comply with. And if they don't comply with these draconian measures, then you have to pay a fine. Big fines, thousands of dollars that have to come out of your pocket, the small man. Everything is about taxes. Take a look at the car rental levy, St. Michael. Take a look at it. Every time a small man comes up with an idea, it is tax. I feel that soon from now they will tax the hairdressers too. Just know the hairdressers next, because every idea that they can think of to get money out of the Barbadians, they are implementing. Everything is a tax. Our friends of democracy is saying, hey, where is the innovative legislation apart from the taxes, apart from just the focusing on bringing the financing into the economy? You made the decisions to bring Barbados into high debt, and then we have to pay the price. Every little tax they sneak out of your salary. Matter of fact, I remember telling some friends, even your bonus does get taxed. You imagine a Christmas bonus where you feel like, yes, I finally get a bonus after a whole year. It's tax. Even a bonus is tax. And we sit by and we say, yes, tax the bonus. When Christmas, when you want to celebrate, why can't you just get your bonus tax-free? Your bonus should be tax-free, and I will advocate that your bonus after a hard year of work, when you finish paying all the taxes, your bonus should be tax-free. And we advocate this for the elderly too. You already paid into the consolidated funds. And Friends of Democracy comes to St. Michael to say 67% of your pension check should not be taxed. The elderly are struggling. Sometimes a person that is an elder lives in a home with no one to help them. And the only friend they have is their pension check. The only friend they know is their pension check to help them get by daily. And then it is still taxed. Yet still, if they have to pay rent, the rent is high, because all of that comes under the cost of living. And the elderly needs a break. Friends of Democracy is saying, hey, let me give you a golden handshake. Shake your hand for service. Every elder of this nation, allow me to shake your hand and say thank you for the service you have given. Leave out the 33% of your money, because we know that your pension will never ever go up. As a matter of fact, when I was canvassing this nation, I met elderly people that said that they did not even qualify for pension. My God. So you see why it is important to put in the work and to ensure that you can receive your pension. And then when you receive your pension, it is taxed. Why? And this is why I have come down St. Michael to continuously remind the people, before you cast a vote, to think about what is best for you, St. Michael. No longer should you sit by and allow lack of representation. No longer should you sit by and allow a representative that has not shown themselves to you within 7 years to come last minute and you give them a vote. Some of you are fearful about trusting a new person, but I can assure you, I would rather trust a new person with a clean slate than to trust a person that existed ever since and keep doing me the same wrong. You cannot allow it, Barbados. Another great issue all the time that we keep hearing is the deaths concerning crime in the nation. Barbados needs to secure its borders. We need more focus on border security, because we have to ask the greatest questions. How do the guns enter the country? And then we have the problem with how do we get them out? We are in the times where if we have to use drones to help with crime. We are in the times that if we need greater surveillance, use greater surveillance. But no longer shall we allow deaths to take our people by crime. No longer shall we sit by and allow our brothers and sisters to drop like flies. The number should never be over 50. That is too much. 5 is too much. 6 is too much. And 7 is too much. So many of our brothers and sisters have lost their family members to crime. If the Barbados Police Force need more resources, then we must provide the resources that they need. We must even ensure their safety at all costs. We cannot allow crime to take over this country, because as I've stated, tourism is our bread and butter. And at some point of time, the tourists may make a decision that they don't want to come to any high crime country. It has happened in Dominica. It has happened in Jamaica. And we do not want it to happen in Barbados. I say no to daytime crime. And I say no to nighttime crime. And we need to ensure that we deal with it urgently. Another policy that we have, St. Michael, I'm not going to waste too much of your time, but we have a lot of young people who will benefit from sports being a business. We need to support talent and culture. We already see the struggle with many of the musicians in the country. We already see that many of them need more support. We already see that Richard Stoute had to create something on his own to ensure that he created a platform for many youngsters. When Richard Stoute created his show, it was never governmental funded. We now have to create that space where we can use the talent of the nation and ensure that they are rewarded for their talent. We need to give them the sponsorship, and these are ideas that we have in our policies. These are the things that we want you to recognize and to think on. What about the future of the youth? What about recreational activities for the youth? What about youth talent being rewarded and being funded by the government? What about stipends being given to these young people for sports to be a business, for them to travel overseas and be covered? Barbados, I need you to recognize the climate that we are in. And the climate that we are in is spelling opposition. The climate that you are in, you need an opposition. And I want to leave you with that message tonight, to remind each and every one of you that when the 11th of February comes, remember that the Friends of Democracy would be a viable opposition for you. So I want you to give one last round of applause for the Friends of Democracy, and note that the Friends of Democracy is the voice of the voiceless and the voice of the people. St. Michael, Barbados, we love you. God bless Barbados, and God bless this nation. I hope that each and every one of you get home safely tonight. Thank you.
Justice and freedom belong to all. From St. Lucie Winds to St. Philip South, hope is alive in every man.
Madam President Karina Goodridge, when you put her up next to the other leaders of the other party, there is no match at all. As we bring this meeting to a close, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and everyone for listening and watching online. I want to thank you for being engaging, and most importantly, thank you for believing that Barbados deserves better. Tonight you did not hear empty promises. You heard real people, real stories, and real solutions. Friends of Democracy is not here to recycle old politics. We are here to reset the standard. Barbados, change does not happen by accident. Change happens when ordinary people make extraordinary decisions. So as we leave tonight, talk to your family, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, and when February 11th comes, remember that you have a choice, a fresh choice, a caring choice, a people-first choice in Friends of Democracy. I want to say see you guys on Sunday, February the 1st, at our candidate and manifesto rally, which will be held at Howard Supermarket Car Park in Bushall, Main Road. Please come out to your numbers as we officially release our manifesto. From Friends of Democracy, I want to say good night, God bless you, and may God bless Barbados.
Friends of Democracy. F-O-D. Friends of Democracy. F-O-D. Of Barbados white with unity. Style up a Caribbean soca fusion anthem with pop and Afro meets undertone. Simple. 116 BPM.
On to St. Peter's Place.